Project Veritas has reportedly fired the entirety of its staff related to news. Now, I don't know the full details. We don't know exactly what that means. There was a tweet that went out that said, SOS, Hannah Giles has fired everybody, but this is completely unsurprising. They betrayed James Okeefe, and it was only a matter of time before they ran out of money and were forced to fire everybody. So what we're hearing is that news operations and these individuals, they're all gone. It's over. And so that's the big breaking story that's happening right now, but we do have a lot to talk about. Donald Trump has responded to the indictment, and he is asking the court for an April 2026 trial date. That's right. 17 months after the election, he wants to have that trial. So we will see how that plays out. I have a feeling they may remand Trump to custody. Everyone keeps saying, no, they won't do that. That would go too far. But I'm sorry. When we said they would indict his lawyers, they said that would go too far. When we said Trump would be indicted, people were like, that would go too far. No matter what seems to be happening, everyone keeps saying, that'll never happen. Then it happens. Oh, the Antifa will never kill a guy in the street. Then they kill a guy in the street. Oh, Trump's not going to get indicted. Then he gets indicted 4 times on like 90 plus counts. Then they indict his lawyers. So yeah, that may be coming. And then we have some really amazing cultural news. Richmond, north of Richmond, is expected to debut at #1 across the board with nearly 100,000 digital sales in a week. It's massive. He's crushing everybody else. Let me tell you guys, when we hit #1, we had something like 20,000 sales. So for Oliver Anthony to have 5 times that, he's going to be debuting the top of the top. And the woke press, they're really, really angry. They're calling him a plant. They're saying that it's nonsensical right-wing populism and that it's attacking the poor. And yeah, they cannot handle when people outside of the institutions succeed culturally. So we're going to talk about all of these subjects. Before we get started, you know it, head over to castbrew.com, buy our coffee, check out the commercial starring Ian Crossland. We got the Cast Brew Coffee Club. Join our coffee club. You'll get 3 different bags every single month. We got ground, we got whole bean, we got light, dark, medium roast, and we have K-Cups. So we're sponsoring ourselves, but here's the real reason we have Cast Brew Coffee. It's not because we want to sell you a product. Not entirely. It's because we are building a coffee shop, which should be hopefully open sometime in the next couple of months. Our projection is around Halloween. It may get delayed a little bit because we have to do some construction stuff, but it's looking pretty good. Once we have that up, I want to immediately figure out franchising and getting anybody who wants to open their own so we can have this decentralized network of cultural hubs where people can come together, hang out, and share ideas. So go to castbrew.com, buy our coffee if you want to support that endeavor, and also head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member, because we're going to have a members only uncensored show coming up for you at about 10 p.m. where you as members get to call in, submit questions, and talk to us live on the Uncensored Show. You'll need to be a member for at least 6 months or sign up at the $25 per month level. It's a screening process to keep out weirdos and far leftists and anybody who's trying to sabotage or anything. So we have to do it. You can, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show right now. Take that URL, post it wherever you can. That really does help. We have been reportedly throttled. People are saying that they're not getting notified anymore. Election season is coming. So if the very least, the only thing you can do to help is just share the video, it really does help. Joining us tonight to talk about this and to give us some tremendous insights. We were already talking quite a bit about what's going on with Trump's legal affairs. We've got Sean Spicer.
Good to be with you guys again. I'm excited to be back. Brand new show coming out Monday, the Sean Spicer Show. Right down on YouTube, Sean M. Spicer, Rumble. But if you go to SeanSpicerShow.com, you can get it on any platform. We're also going to be on the First, which is great. So all platforms Monday. And as I said before we went on air, the great thing is primaries, caucuses, conventions, debates, the race for 270. I'm going to break it down every day. What are the rules and how can we win? I think too often the right doesn't get what it takes to win. We need to know the rules if we're actually going to win. So I'm excited to be here tonight.
Absolutely. Plus, as I mentioned, just before the show, we were already talking about what goes into these legal challenges, the amount of time, energy, the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
And it was starting to get good. I'm like, we better hold off because you were agreeing to an extent that we ain't seen nothing yet.
I think your analysis was spot on, right? This is, we keep thinking, and this is the problem with, and part of the reason I wanted to launch the show, and frankly, just to be little praiseworthy here. You've led the way in this independent media, and I've been a huge admirer of frankly the empire that you guys have built, and you've done it every single night. And I hope that I have half of the energy that you guys do every night. But that's the point, is that we keep saying, and you said this a minute ago, it will never come to this. Oh, we can, this is what. If we don't start playing better and by understanding the rules and how we can use them to win, then you might as well give up. But earlier today, somebody said, can Trump win? I'm like, yes, of course Trump can win. We keep falling into this sense of letting the left change the rules. We saw it during COVID over and over again. You talked about it with the legal consequences. If we don't start using the rules on our side to win, then we will never. And they get it. They understand the money and the activism that it takes to change things.
Yep.
And then we keep falling behind the eight ball. And so this is what's happening. You brought it up legally. We keep saying this will never happen. Yes, it will.
It keeps getting worse.
It keeps getting worse. And then we go, okay, well, it won't get even more worse. And it gets more worse.
We'll jump in all that. I want to save it because the experiences you had dealing with Mueller was already massively enlightening. So thanks for joining us. Should be real fun. We have Hannah Claire Brimelow hanging out.
Hey, I'm Hannah Claire Brimelow. I'm a writer for Timcast.com. I'm really excited for tonight's conversation. Ian's here too.
Hi, everyone. Ian Crossland, also very happy to be here. I'm in a race with Clint Russell, Liberty Lock Pod on Twitter to 100,000 followers. So follow Liberty Lock Pod and myself. I'll bring it up again near the end of the show to remind you, but I'm happy to be here. Good to see you, Sean.
Thanks.
Really good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Serge, tell me about it.
Yo, I am at Serge.com. I am wearing my Anti-Socialist Social Club shirt that I got from Conservative Ant yesterday. Let's just jump into it.
Here's the breaking news right now. Project Veritas CEO reportedly fires all of the organization's staff. The nonprofit has been plagued by internal turmoil for the last year following the termination of founder James O'Keefe. The official Project Veritas X account, that's what was funny, X Twitter account, shared the message, SOS, Hannah Giles just fired us all. Such a weird goings on. An unnamed source confirmed to Timcast the Project Veritas staff has been let go and further claimed the chief financial officer for the nonprofit has resigned. The source told Timcast donations dried up, there was a massive drop in financial support, and the writing was on the wall for months. Jack Posobiec, the senior editor at Human Events, also said a source had confirmed the validity of the message. All of production, all of field ops, all of comms, all of legal, the source told Posobiec, according to an online post. Only remaining are office admin, HR person, a couple development people, and IT. The organization, which has been known for breaking a number of significant stories, had been plagued by administrative turmoil this year. This is absolutely amazing to me and predictable. We knew it was only a matter of time. The Post Millennial also has additional information. Breaking exclusive, chaos at Project Veritas. Almost all employees have been laid off. And they go on to add a little bit more here. She came to all hands in April with her, this is a quote, with her fat sidekick Ben Wetmore, and all they did for 3 days was talk ish about James and relitigate all the terrible things he did to her and them 10 to 12 years ago. I knew right then her entire agenda was revenge. On-air talent Christian Hartsock, James Lilino were both laid off after Giles told staff that a restructuring would be underway. Kaylin Erickson, Jamie Phillips, Alyssa Dayan were also fired. The terminations were done via Zoom call with HR. With a few of those in the New York office, Giles did not make an appearance. She's a lying sack of ish, a source told the Post Millennial. No one respected her anyway. Here's what I have to say about all this. If you still worked at Project Veritas, I don't know, I got very little sympathy for you. They came after founder and leader James O'Keefe. They tried to strip him of everything he built. And there were people who were party to the knives in the back of James O'Keefe who signed a letter calling him out. So I just have to say, I'm not calling out anyone individually because I don't know who, but to all the people who stabbed James in the back and have now lost their jobs, I don't know, schadenfreude, like this is what you deserve. Did you think that this organization could survive without the man who built it and was doing the hard work and making the sacrifices to keep it up and running? These people firmly believed they were the ones doing it all. And surprise, surprise, the moment you betray your leader, all the money's gone. They bring in a shark who then nukes you. Okay.
Yeah, it's been
no
a
pity.
wild year. Do you guys remember that coup at Project Veritas? The thing that stands out to me the most is that letter that was signed by like 16 employees. They had all these, they said that James is a tyrant. He does all these terrible things. And they had all these examples. One was that this donor felt like, he hadn't been friendly to her or something. And then afterwards, that donor was like, that's not what happened. That's not it at all. Like,
Yeah, he was like short with some woman, and then they were like, "What are you talking about?" James was perfectly polite.
was totally fine.
He stole a woman's sandwich.
So this group of people that said we can do it without him thought they could also hold on to the donors who were paying for James Okeefe, right?
That organ. I mean, it was called Project Veritas, but it was James Okeefe.
Yeah.
I mean, so the second he's gone, what are you donating to? I mean, it was his investigative journalism and tactics that people were watching. He was the face of it. The second that he was gone, I just don't understand what they thought would happen.
Especially,
so, I mean, today, I know you said this, that, according to the reporting, they were fired. They weren't fired. I mean, the bottom line is they ran out of money. I mean, I don't know the finances, but like, let's stop kidding around. Once he left, it dried up. And at some point they said, we can't pay you anymore. Call it what you will.
Well, and why didn't they lead off with firing their development team? Development people are supposed to raise money.
I think they have money, but I think money's not coming in. Because if you look at their 990s, they had millions of dollars. And so what's probably happened is they probably looked at the finances and said, we got no donors. We got a couple million in the bank. At this rate, we will be totally, we'll be defunct insolvent in 6 months. So they're like, okay, fire everybody now, and Veritas will function to some degree for a few years.
But the funny thing is, I do believe, and obviously the Okeefe Media Group that he started, these people bought into a mission. Okay, they wanted to see things exposed without the Project Veritas being any kind of an alternative, which right now this is actually going to be a boon for him, I think, because they're going to go, okay, like let's just go back to basics. I mean, maybe he stole someone's sandwich, but the bottom line is, but the point is, like, here's what we've invested in to begin with. Let's go back to the OG.
Yeah, I think the employees actually that are getting fired might actually go work for Okeefe Media Group, and it's like,
no, they will.
Is he going to have a back?
They might want to go work for Okeefe Media Group,
but James,
he's going to do his own little investigative journalism and be like, I have a video of you, a tweet from you, and an email from you, and you're not working for me.
It reminds me of Alexander the Great when he was on campaign. His men just got to the point where they were fed up. We're like, we're leaving, and he was like, fine, leave. So they all. He gave a speech, and he was like, get out, go home, tell him you left me here. And then a couple days went by, and the men realized what they'd done, and they went back to Alexander and begged to be let back
because they were starving and lost. And
maybe he gave this rousing speech, and they all realized what they would really be leaving. And
here's what I think.
The speech is pretty incredible, and so he took them back. He's like, you're all my brothers.
This reminds me. This has a touch of an element of leftism, entitlement, arrogance. James Okeefe starts this organization. He sacrifices. He gets raided by the feds. He gets sued over and over again. He's the tip of the spear. He's the front face, the front man of this organization, taking all the heat and working nonstop. He brings people on to assist him. At some point, they get in their minds that he's the bad guy and they should take over, and that they'd be fine without him. And then it all comes crumbling down.
You know what I find
Hard wake-up
fascinating,
call.
by the way? So many times, organizations like the one that James founded, you hear the founder at some point starts to grift. They steal. They get too big for themselves. That was never the case under him. As big as they grew, as much money as they brought in, there's not, I mean, to your point, this is a nitpicky thing that they went after him on. And I don't know all the claims, but it was never about stealing or living the high life or buying expensive cars. And
a couple things were.
Okay.
Yeah, they claimed that he paid his own wedding or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, and again, I'm not. But so many of these organizations are get to that point where it topples on itself. He stayed true to the mission, right? And I think that sort of is an interesting thing for me to watch, because then he goes and does Okeefe Media Group, and it's like, all right, and he seems to have at least getting back to getting enough people to help fund that. But I just find it funny that these guys thought that they could do it without him.
Yeah. If you have a heart issue, don't rip your heart out. I mean, you got to heal the thing, have James sitting down and talk
to Tim's earlier point, if they're trying to keep this thing going for a year or two, you fired your entire content team, like the people who are going to do the investigative journalism, which is theoretically what people were donating to support in the first place. Now you have an HR person and more people to fundraise. There's nothing there. You have lost sight of your mission.
They're wearing Veritas like a skin suit, and everyone can see right through it. That's just it.
If James had been like, I'm going to leave, if it was his decision and he was like, everyone continue to support this creation that I've been a part of, I think it would be fine. I think people would have stayed on.
Yep. Sure. But they stabbed him in the back. And a bunch of people who worked there signed a letter stabbing him in the back, despite the fact the letter said, some of us haven't been witness to any of this, nor have we ever been wronged by James Okeefe, but we're signing the letter anyway. And it's like, oh, I was waiting for this moment for these people to get their comeuppance.
I wonder how many of them. Do you think James will hire any of them?
Some of them. I bet some of them are probably just, like, I have no idea. I bet some of them are still in contact with James saying, I'm so sorry this happened. People who didn't sign that letter accusing him of wrongdoing. I got to tell you, if I worked for Veritas and I was, out with James for whatever reason, and I bought myself the most delicious chicken bacon ranch sandwich, and James walked up and says, I haven't eaten all day. I need your sandwich, dude. I'd be like, bro, no problem. I'd be like, you're busting your ass. You're working really hard. I will go get another sandwich. The idea that they signed this letter of abuse because he allegedly took a sandwich, I'm just like, you people are so petty. You know what, man? I'm glad that he was able to get out, and I am glad that he was able to start. I believe OMG is a for-profit private entity now. Good.
Yeah, he owns
now,
it.
Now he has. See, the problem with a nonprofit. First of all, James deserves as much money as he decides for the work that he does. And with a nonprofit, you're limited, right? You have to, when you're filling out paperwork, you have to sign how much people are going to get paid. Are there going to be any employees who make more than 6 figures? And I think the 990s showed that James was getting around $300K per year, leading what were they, like an 8-figure organization? Some of the most influential with some of the most vital and important groundbreaking reporting. The Amy Rohrbach story on Epstein. And here's James Okeefe getting, like a mid-tier, like VP salary level, which is hey, it's good. I'm not $300,000 a year. But the level of influence and work that he did, he should decide if he wants more. But more importantly, if James wants to buy himself a Lamborghini, I hope he does. He deserves it. But as a for-profit organization, James can, without any question, without any board members, without any legal paperwork, choose to hire whoever he wants, fund whatever he wants, launch documentaries, do all of these things, and it's much, much easier and much, much more effective for him to do this. He doesn't have to worry about now. So they accuse him of taking too many black cars, night vehicles to and from. And I'm like, yeah, people want to kill this guy. The least you can do is give him an Uber, between locations. And they're like, no, it's wasting money.
He's not like an executive at St. Jude's,
but also,
right? Like he needs more protection.
But get back to the nut of this. The donors are giving it because of him.
Yeah.
Right? This is not like they installed this guy and said, wow, we brought you into this organization. He built it. The donors are buying into him and his work. So if he wants to take a car here or there, to your point, Tim, about safety and just efficiency.
Comfort.
Yeah, but this is not, again, this isn't, it's not like they're like, by the way, he was taking a G5, from DC to his place in the Hamptons. This is, I want a black car that I know that the driver's going to be safe, that I'm going to, this is not excess.
This is the benefit of a private organization, having a private entity. James will not be scrutinized for saying, hey, he came out here a couple times, and in order to do so, they had to do a private charter. I think a private charter for between here and New York round trip is like $10,000 to $13,000. James is at this level, and I've explained this to a lot of people. There's no way someone with the workload of James Okeefe is going to drive the 6 or 7 hours down here to come on the show, or drive back, or wait in the airport and dedicate a whole day or two to travel. He's like, hey, I've got a bunch of meetings today. I can go on Tim Pool's show. We got to get a private charter. We step in, we get the plane. We're there in an hour. Boom, we're gone. We're back in New York the next day. Certain levels of work and responsibility require things like this. Now, don't get me wrong. Like when the global elites are like, oh, there's climate change is a big problem, but they're going to fly in private jets. Yeah, we can criticize that. I'm not going to criticize someone for saying the only way I can do this is if I get a private charter.
Yeah, I don't think the logistics of his career are that unreasonable, especially if he has that much to do. I mean, he has a ton of risk because he isn't just like a nonprofit leader. He is a public face. People are very angry with the work that he does. There is more of a target on his back. And I will say, I think this is sort of the problem with nonprofits. I think a lot of people start nonprofits because they see, people can donate to me and it's a tax write-off and then I can get support. I don't know how I would make money off of this, but I do want to dedicate my life. It's very mission driven. But nonprofits are ultimately ruled by a board, and that can be detrimental, as we saw.
And they betrayed him. Well, let's. I can only say that it looks like OMG has been doing a lot of work. They've got information. I guess James has posted coming out of Fulton County. They've been doing investigations, and I think he's now untethered. And I think he's going to be in better control and not have to worry about being betrayed in the future. So good luck to him. And you hate to see it. Veritas was an institution. It was a powerful force that was doing really good work, and then it crumbled. So it happens. But let's jump to more modern political stuff. The latest development in the Trump indictments out of Georgia. This is from CBS 17. Trump lawyers seek April 2026 trial date in federal election subversion case. That's basically the story. The suggested date is a dramatic counter to the DOJ, to the Justice Department's recommendation last week of January 2nd. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the federal judge. I had this totally wrong. This is not the Georgia case. This is the federal election. Wait, no. This is the federal election case. Why do they say a federal judge? He's asking a federal judge to intervene. Lawyers for Donald Trump asked a federal judge Thursday night to set an April 2026 trial date in the case in Washington, charging the former president with conspiring to. Okay, right. So this is the Jack Smith case. So this is the DC case, not the Georgia case. Man, it's hard to keep track of all these indictments. Woof. I thought this was Georgia.
Then there's 4. But look, the reality is that they've got to figure out something here, because you can't have the leading candidate for the Republican nomination who's leading Joe Biden having to deal with, they can't have it both ways. I think the one thing that is lost in this whole discussion, and I watched one of the media organizations today try to excuse this, but the reality is every one of those 4 cases happened, the issue that he's being charged with happened years ago. Yeah. Why did all 4 now happen?
It's weird timing.
Really? Isn't it?
It's crazy timing.
But I'm sitting here watching this Fulton County DA go after him for an event that happened 2.5 years ago. Why did it take? And oh, by the way, it just so happens to sequence right after Jack Smith's case, which just happened to sequence after Jack Smith's other case, which happened to sequence right after Alvin Bragg's case. All of these events happened 2.5 years ago. If what Trump did was so bad, what new has occurred? Nothing.
In Georgia, the court published the indictments against Trump before the grand jury convened.
But that was a mistake.
Sure.
Yes.
First, it said it was fictitious. Then they said we hit the wrong button. Right.
But then why did you have this document up?
Donald Trump came out. I haven't seen the video, but I saw someone tweeting about it. Apparently, Donald Trump said that everyone else should drop out of the GOP primary race. That we should all be united. And let me see if actually let me pull up the. I can actually try and pull this video up. So someone asked. I want to make sure I get the person who asked right. I'll play the video for you guys. I didn't pull it up before, but I'll pull it up now. And let's see where we at. Did it not go through? Maybe it didn't go through on my Twitter. So Trump apparently said that everyone should drop out. And I think that's correct. I believe that all of the Republicans should drop out of the race. Trump should be the only one. And the question is, but what happens when they remove Trump from the ballots in various states? I think Trump should put that decision dilemma to the Democrats to say, there is no one else running for the GOP. It is Biden or Trump or Newsom or Trump, whatever it's going to be. And they would have to remove Republican from the ballots outright if they want to remove Trump. Right now, if there's other contenders, there's a safety net. If it's Ron DeSantis or Vivek or anybody else, if they remove Trump from the ballot, they'll put on some other Republican. So that way the people who are there perceive this option. I think that's the decision dilemma. Either they're stopped from removing Trump, or they're forced to take such an extreme and egregious action, they will shock people to their cores.
Well, I think the analysis might be right, but the reality is each of these guys who are running think somehow that Trump's going to fall and they're going to be the next person. That's what's keeping them in the race. I mean, they all know. I don't want to get ahead of the debate discussion if we get there tonight, but someone asked, I get asked every day, should Trump go to the debate? And I go, he's at 54% in the Real Clear average of polls. Most of these folks need a name tag for you to know who they are, right? So why should he get on the stage? And the same thing is true. They're all hoping that what you're saying, Tim, happens, that he goes down and they become the number 2 or the number 3. The reality is that's all they're hoping for. They know they can't win. I mean, no one in their right mind, anyone who just has second grade math says, he's at 54, I'm trying to get to 1. I get it. And that's, even if you start breaking it down by the states, Iowa, New Hampshire, it's not. So they know their only hope is that he falls down and gets removed or something, or gets.
Vivek has said no way to that. And Vivek is publicly resisting that, saying, I don't want to win that way. I want to win on the merits, and that we can't handle this. We can't handle it this way. So the tweet was from Jesse Kelly, but I want to play first the clip from Donald Trump. Here's what Trump had to say.
Great polls just out, leading by 40, 50, and even 60 points. Who expected that? I did. Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, all very strong, but also leading Biden very big. The sanctimonious is crashing. Perhaps the party should come together. People should drop out of the race. We unify, and we beat Biden and the Democrats. They should be easy to beat because our country has never been in worse condition than it is right now. Thank you.
So this tweet from Jesse Kelly says, someone explained to me like I'm 10 years old. How does anyone dropping out help Trump stay out of prison? Please be specific. If everyone drops out, what do we do when the communists in Michigan and Pennsylvania keep him off the general election ballot? My response was it creates a decision dilemma for the Dems. They either cancel the GOP entirely or they keep Trump on. Taking his name off would be apocalyptic. With others in the race, they get a safety net for nuking Trump.
But this goes back to what you said a moment ago, and this is or what we were talking about. Here's the deal. I think that you're right. It's this apoplectic decision. I don't think they care. I think that they will do what, and this gets back to the nut of what I've been saying, is that they don't care. They will do whatever it takes to maintain power.
Then force them into a risky position.
And what happens when this is my question. What happens when we lose, meaning that they say, great, we're going to remove him, we're going to jail him, and then we're going to make sure that Biden wins because
you need to avoid the frogs boiling in the pot scenario. If Donald Trump is taken off the ballot and there are 3 people standing behind him, then the ballot in Michigan still has Republican and Democrat on it. But if the ballot has a single party and no one else, that is such a massive leap. The problem we're experiencing right now, we mentioned this in the beginning of the show, every day people say, oh, that can't happen. That would go too far. Let's go way back in time. And I bring this up all the time. When I said in 2018 that the street conflicts we are seeing between Proud Boys and Antifa were a track towards civil war, and people laughed, saying a bunch of goons fighting in the street is not a civil war. And I said, yes, but the sentiments held by these people will keep spreading, eventually find their ways into government. And they said that will never happen. The security state will not allow it. Where are we today? We're well past that point. Not only did you have the 2020 Summer of Love riots where they tried firebombing the White House. The president was forced into a bunker. You then get January 6th. You then get Donald Trump being indicted several times. Every single time someone has suggested that something like this could happen, people have just across the board, across Twitter saying, no, that'll never happen.
But that goes to the point. That's what I'm saying. You're absolutely right. So why is this time?
Let me explain. Yeah. So what's happening is every action they take is them cranking up the temperature by 1 degree. You don't notice you're boiling. Now that they've indicted Trump's lawyers, like Jenna Ellis was indicted simply for being his lawyer. Counts 1 and 2, being party to a criminal organization and violation of public oath of office or whatever. Quite literally, just being his lawyer. There are people on that indictment list where it's like they reached out to a state elector and said, bada bada. They reached out to a lawyer and said this. No, she's just a lawyer. When people said Trump wouldn't be indicted, Mike Cernovich brings this up. He's like, they're going to indict Trump. All of these people on Twitter, these prominent conservatives, like, no, they won't. It won't happen. Then when it does, Trump gets indicted for what? Tax paperwork? Some campaign contribution? That's not even a big deal. The next day, it's classified documents. Okay, well, that's, it's not that big a deal. Then it's trying to subvert the election. Now they're going after his lawyers. What's happening is they're incrementing it to such a degree that now that they're at the point where they've indicted lawyers for constitutionally protected legal work, people are acting like it's no big deal.
Yes.
So what you have to do is put the Democrats in a situation where they either take 10 steps forward or 2 steps back. And 10 steps forward is like cranking the temperature up past 400 degrees when all of a sudden the frogs shriek and jump out of the pot. Imagine what would happen in Michigan if your run-of-the-mill, bumbling, dotard Republican voter who doesn't pay attention goes and looks at the ballot and there's not a single Republican option, or the president just says Joe Biden. That person goes, what?
See, I'm not voting Democrat. This is where I'll disagree with you, because I think that what happens is the media and the establishment and Hollywood and everything else they own says, well, unfortunately, he committed these crimes and he wasn't allowed to do it in the Republican Party, blah, blah. I mean, they do what they do. I get your point. They've turned it up 10 notches.
That doesn't change anything. Make them excise the Republican Party from the election. Force them to outright say you have one choice or no choice. It's the same thing. Make them say it.
Okay.
Make regular people have to.
Let's play it out for a second. They say it. The election happens and they go, see, we did have an election. Unfortunately, the Republicans had nominated a guy that was in jail and we had to remove him from the ballot. And so Joe Biden has been dutifully elected president of the United States for a second time. And oh, by the way, this is where Kamala's coming in. But
I don't know exactly what happens when they.
But when does this is what I'm trying to get at. When does the frogs jump out of the pot? They go, oh my God, there's only one party and this is what they're doing to us. What's the recourse? How do we undo what they did? This is the problem. Your example about the streets, everything else spot on. And everybody goes, holy crap, but we're not, even for all the stuff that they've done and where we are in society, no one's turning back and saying, we've got to undo it now. Gosh, look at how hot it got in the pot. And I think they turn it up a bunch of notches. We freak out, but then we go, what's the recourse? We go, oh, it's too late. Sorry, next election.
So the reason, I believe the reason Democrats are taking actions this extreme is because they know they've lost the culture.
Yes. But my point is,
but that means what they're doing is irrelevant. Laws are only enforced on the confidence of the people, and they're losing confidence in people. If they take one party off the ballot outright, confidence evaporates overnight.
But see, I think that what your example was right. They don't go, hey, in all 50 states, there's no Trump, right? It's Michigan, Pennsylvania, and so it just prevents him from getting to 270. We did have an election.
Good. So what?
So here's my point. The so what is they declare him. They go through the same exercise where the Congress certifies it, and they said, sorry guys, next time you should nominate somebody.
Won't happen.
You don't think it'll happen?
That will not. That no way. We, as bad as 2020 was in terms of how many members of Congress challenged the results and demanded action, and whatever you think of January 6th, we had something on January 6th. 2024 will not go down like that, especially if they remove Trump from the ballot in one state and just one state. My point is this. The only reason they get away with anything they do is because people believe they can. So the example I like to give is that women aren't legally allowed to skydive in Florida on Sundays. Not a single cop is going to arrest a woman for skydiving in Florida on Sunday. Why? Because the culture will not allow it. We have tons of laws in the books that never get enforced. It's illegal to do these drag performances with children in a bunch of these states. Ain't no cop stopping them. Why? Because of the culture. Because the cops are like, I don't want to get involved. The sentiment of the people matters more than what the letter of the law says.
See, just to bring this back though for a second, here's what I think. I get where you're going with this, but I think that there's also a reality of where I, in my opinion, think things are headed now, which is that either in DC or Georgia, they get a conviction. And what they do is they don't take them off the ballot, right? This is my take on this. But they basically create an environment to say, Republicans, you guys, do you really want to elect a guy that's going to be in jail? And so the elections are such that Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin are all within 1, 2, 3, 4%. You don't need to get 500,000 people against the president. You need 10, 20, 40. Michigan was won in 2015 by Trump by 10,703 votes. That's it. They get that they just need a little movement of the needle and they win. They win Michigan. They win. So what I think they're really doing is ensuring that they get a conviction in Washington, D.C. and or in Fulton County, Georgia, and that they can spread the message that you guys are going to elect a guy who can't get himself out of jail. I don't. That to me is actually a worse scenario because they will let Republicans infight on that, whether or not, and they don't have to remove him from the ballot.
I don't see that being as successful. That is a Pyrrhic victory. If Democrats have to win using these methods, they're eroding the American people's confidence in the system to function, and that will destroy them. That's my point.
Correct.
And that's how they lose.
Yes,
they have to maintain legitimacy.
Yeah, but see, here's my point. You talked about the legitimacy. Look where we are now. You pointed out where we are in the streets,
and they're doing it because of their desperation.
Right.
Examples: Bud Light. 30% drop off in their stock, $400 million lost. Target, 27% drop off in their stock. For the first time in 6 years, they're dropping in sales. Meanwhile, Sound of Freedom surpasses Indiana Jones. Disney now facing major boycotts. Richmond, north of Richmond, to debut at #1.
Yeah.
Because people are starting to push back culturally, and they're losing. So the only thing they have left is raw power. It won't work. So let's ask Republicans over the past 10 years if political power did anything for them with no cultural power.
So on the Sound of Freedom and on Target, just to keep it one-on-one here, you're absolutely right. Sound of Freedom, probably closing on to 200 million right now. And it's people went out, saw the movie, spread the word, we won. Target, same thing. People were disgusted by what they saw, said, I'm not shopping in there. But here's the question. Let's look at Target. Who lost their job?
My guess is a bunch of cashiers.
But that's my point, is that this is what scares me, is that in any normal world a decade ago, you would have fired that CEO and said, what a moron. You're out.
Yeah, who got fired at Bud Light?
Yeah.
The marketing team.
Yeah.
The marketing
No.
VPs.
Just to be clear, they didn't get fired. They're on leave.
No, they were fired.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so...
The leave was a lie, reportedly.
Fine. But here's my point.
Face.
5 people lost, $26 billion lost. I mean, and 5 people lose their job. You've got everyone else in the leadership.
Well, no. Bud Light was forced to sell off their craft brew brands to a Canadian company.
But my point
and
is,
they're shutting down several of their plants and tons of.
Okay, so let's take this. If Ian starts blowing up Timcast, you're gonna get 20 minutes later he's out. Where's the accountability? I mean, yes, they fired the marketing team. That's cowardice.
They fired the people who did the thing.
Why don't you think their board demands
That's
action
my
then?
point. But this is where I get. I mean,
But
this is my worry.
That doesn't
Why?
matter.
It does, because this is the point that you're.
I don't care what Bud Light does. Bud Light could rehire the marketing VPs, and they could go and juggle bottles in the middle of Times Square for all I care. The fact is, what we've learned from this is that the American people are turning things around.
Right.
That's all that matters.
But what I'm worried about,
does.
what I'm trying to say is that you're right. I agree with you on principle. The problem I have is that Target, you look at that, the CEOs and the top folks there, somebody should have paid the consequence for this, right?
Who cares?
And because what I'm trying to do is make an analogy to the Democratic Party here and say these guys keep going over and over and over again, right? No one's demanding that Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi or Hakeem Jeffries or whatever go, hey guys, you're guiding us down a path of losing. No one is legitimately
good that they stay on. It is good that they're not doing that. If you've got a guy who's driving if the Democrats are driving their bus off a cliff, then we should be saying like, well, it's unfortunate that's their leadership.
Again, agree with you. I'm like, hey, let's keep them on board. I love it. But this is what I'm trying to get at. The point that I thought you were making is that at some point they're going to blow themselves out, right? Because they've gone too far. My question is, when is that? Because we keep
not that they've gone too far. They already went too far. It's done. Now they only have the exercise of raw power. They're desperate for Trump supporters to act out and do something. And as long as we just keep listening to good songs like Rich Men North of Richmond and stop buying Bud Light and shopping at Target, eventually they lose their power. They lose their confidence. They're becoming desperate. Already we're seeing corporations drop ESG in name because they know it's bad for their bottom line. What's happening now culturally is victory. They're saying that Disney's didn't Disney lose nearly $2 billion or something like that off their past several releases? They're failing. The Flash, one of the biggest box office bombs in history. These institutions are in free fall. At the same time, Angel Studios with Sound of Freedom, not just that, The Chosen is huge.
Yeah.
Success across the board. You add on to the fact of something I've been saying for quite a bit. The left is more likely to abort their children and sterilize their children. No matter what you think about indoctrination of kids, the math is absolute. There is a rate of attrition among leftists that does not exist among the right, which means 20 years from now, it's going to be 2-to-1 conservative to liberal voters, even with indoctrination. And not to mention, conservatives are pushing back on the indoctrination. So what I see with Democrats, the indictment of Donald Trump, they're behind the scenes crying, looking at their assets in Hollywood failing. Their PR campaigns don't work. Their woke garbage movies are being mocked and ridiculed. The celebrities, many of them are turning and being like, I don't want to be involved in this. Dana Carvey puts out a video mocking vaccines. And people are starting to say, oh, they're based. Russell Brand, Hollywood celebrity, now they're calling him he's right wing now. It's like the dude's a leftist. They're losing.
Right.
The only thing they have left is the cudgel. It's not going to work. So that's why I say Donald Trump should be the nominee. The other nominees, I think, should drop out. I agree with Trump on this. I'm not like 100% saying everyone get out of it. I'm saying like there's a good point to be made that if everyone drops out and then Democrats are forced to use the nuclear option of removing Trump from the ballot, that means there will be no Republican. Now, maybe they'll put a fake Republican there or they'll just write Republican or something. But that would be so shocking. It would strike at the core of whatever legitimacy they claim to have right now.
I just don't think they care. I think they do whatever.
I don't care. I don't care if they care.
Oh,
I don't
no,
care
but
if
I'm saying,
Bud Light hires
no,
back
But what I'm saying is,
Heinerscheid.
I think that you're right. But it's they're like they think in 2 and 4 year increments. So they're great. We'll get past this election, then we'll deal with it. It's somebody else's problem if we completely
And
blow
then
this up.
what'll happen is 8 years from now, they'll be saying we can't muster up 30% of the vote. What happened? It's like we weren't paying attention to what was going on around us. What'll happen is you'll get Democrats start
Can
to
you
change.
wait 8 years?
I'm not saying it won't. I'm not saying nothing will happen between then.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's when they don't exist anymore. We're already at the point where you have RFK polling at 20% among Democrats. And RFK is actually trying to bring on conservatives into his advisory board, into his campaign, because he wants cross-country appeal. That we're already seeing that among Democrats. They're fed up with this. So I think whatever the Chuck Schumers, the Pelosi's, these people, they were on a ship headed straight into rough seas, and they sat back eating their $15 ice cream, and now they're caught in the storm and they can't get out.
Can I just give you the quick political? I can't help myself sometimes because I think to your point about where this thing ends up. Right now, Trump is leading, and the only way that Trump is not the nominee is if somebody actually can beat him in an early state: Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada. Right?
No
right
way.
now, exactly. And so this gets to your point. Is in 2015 there were 29 days between the Iowa caucuses and Super Tuesday, right? This time there will be 50 days. Why does that matter? Campaigns need the equivalent of gas. What's gas? Money, volunteers. No one is going to stick with a candidate that can't defeat the nominee, that can't actually accumulate delegates. And so this gets back to what Hannah and you guys, we were all talking about before, understanding how this is going to play out. And Tim's going to get his wish, because going into Super Tuesday in March, these guys can't sustain themselves. No one's going to give someone at 1% or 2% money or wake up and answer the phones and put up signs. And so Trump, in my estimation, will be the nominee by the time he hits Super Tuesday in early March. So you're going to get your scenario, politically speaking, because there's no one right now that can actually take him on. The only caveat that I've always put is that Iowa is an organizing state, meaning it takes about 50,000 people to win the caucuses. DeSantis' team claimed that they've just over 10,000 people that have signed caucus commitment cards. If DeSantis can't do that in Iowa, it's over.
What do you think about Ramaswamy?
I'm impressed with. I think as a political novice, as somebody who's been doing this 30 years, I look at how he's conducting himself, the campaign that he's built, and it's impressive. Do I think he can win? No. He's sort of like that quarterback that you look at the beginning of the season and say, is he going to start or win a Super Bowl? No, but that's the guy I want to keep my eye on. And he's the kind of guy that I could see Trump picking as a VP. He's the kind of guy that I could see running in 2028. I am impressed with the organization that he's putting on. I'm impressed with the message and the following. The thing that's really interesting for all of these whiners that won't make the debate stage, Vivek has raised, of the total that he's raised, $2.7 million, according to his last thing, from donors. He's at 6%. He's ahead of the former vice president of the United States, who is a governor and a multi-term leadership congressman. This just shows you that if you have a good message and run a good campaign, you can succeed. He is proof to all of the whiners that won't make the stage that it's you, buddy.
Yeah, that's my vibe. I think Trump is so popular that it's challenging to get the name recognition at this point against an incumbent, essentially an incumbent president, even though he didn't serve this last term.
I want to talk about where this Georgia indictment goes, because I think one of the most important things to consider, we've been mentioning it several times. Every time someone suggests the Democrats may go one step further, we're told, no, that would be too far. They won't do it. I think there is a strong possibility that if Donald Trump surrenders in Georgia, they will remand him to custody and sever his communications. I've heard people say, oh, that's crazy. They wouldn't do it. They're not going to remand him. Why not? Think about what they're doing right now and going after someone's lawyers. Mm-hmm. If you were to tell me that Donald Trump would be indicted, let's say a year and a half ago, Trump's going to be indicted, I'd be like, well, I wouldn't put it past him. If you then came to me and said, yes, they're also going to indict his lawyers, I'd be like, what? Now that's a step too far. If you said, okay, they're not going to indict his lawyers, but when they indict him, they are going to put him in jail and revoke bail, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. They're arresting him. So why would we assume that it is more reasonable to expect his lawyers and former administration staff to be indicted under RICO charges?
Can I tell you why this?
Then to assume it would be that it would be less like. Why would we assume the probability lies not with him being remanded to custody and the probability lies with lawyers being indicted?
What worries me more than anything, and this gets at your point, is that this Fulton County DA doesn't have anyone to answer to. right? So and by the way, Governor Kemp down there in Georgia is not doing Trump any favors. So the point is, if she goes down the route that you're talking about, Tim, that's where people have to understand that I think she doesn't care. She's a Democrat that has no. There's nothing in her that cares what Donald Trump or anyone else thinks. She wants to be a hero to the left. And I think that gives merit to exactly what you're saying, is that she's like, I can be a hero. I'm the guy that's going to put Donald Trump behind bars. I'm going to get the mugshot and it'll be me. I will be the hero to the progressive left doing this. And I don't have to worry about answering anybody. I don't answer to DOJ. I don't answer. So I think that to what you're getting at, this is going to be the key moment. When he goes to Georgia, and he will, what happens then? Because they're going to do things to him in the last 3 that haven't happened, and everyone's going to go, oh my gosh.
I hope he gets remanded to custody, and I think people need to realize Trump said, I need one more indictment to win the presidency. I wonder if Trump is surrendering because he gets this, that every time the Democrats take these extreme actions, they are stripping themselves of the confidence of the American people, that people are starting to view what they're doing as illegitimate. You've got even some percentage of Democrats who feel that the charges are overtly political or going, way too far. So Trump may be thinking, in this day and age, we're in the victimhood, era or whatever. The idea is, if you want to win a fight, you don't throw a punch. You wait to get punched and then scream, help, help, I'm being oppressed. So Donald Trump says, hey, I'm obeying the law. Goes, and goes through the arraignment, the arrest process, the mugshot, and then uses this to say they are evil and corrupt, and their only path to victory is through violating our social norms. Never in this country's history has a president targeted his political opponent. Trump's going to weaponize this for fundraising and for sentiment, and to strip the Democratic voter of confidence.
I think that the point that I'm taking away from this is that what happens in those 20 minutes after he shows up is going to be really interesting. I mean, they're almost giddy. That sheriff was like, he's definitely going to go to mugshot. Like, what do you need a mugshot for, right?
The most famous man in the world does not need a mugshot.
Right, and
that
also
way they can fundraise for the rest of their political career.
But this is the point. Exactly. You're spot on. This is all about trying to be the most progressive person out there. They're all vying. The sheriff's trying to outdo the DA. The DA is trying to outdo this. That's what worries me more than anything else, is that these guys, when Alvin Bragg did his first indictment, as a non-lawyer, I was talking to some folks that are very well versed in this all stuff. And I said, here's what I don't get. This venue, how do you mix this? And they said, Sean, I want you to understand something. Ever since Trump became president, it's like the rules have changed. What normally would have made sense, you had said, okay, this isn't the right venue, they don't have standing, this, that, the other thing. And they go, Katie bar the door, baby. Judges don't care anymore. It's like, oh, it's Trump, or you're a Trump associate, or we're going after. Okay. Like things that would have never passed the smell test 4 or 5 years ago. And that's what worries me.
That's why I say civil war. The only thing Stephen Marsh says this, we're in this period of civil strife. Civil strife is a period before civil war when there's a certain number of political deaths that occur every year. And we've exceeded that number over the past few years. So by the actual historical metric, the argument is the experts say we are entering a civil war and we don't know when it will start or what will kick it off. My view is that's probably true and correct, and it's a fair assessment. But there's also the consideration of 4th and 5th generational warfare, which is psychological operations and manipulation. If the Democrats are doing exactly as you described, they are saying the rule of law doesn't matter, the Constitution doesn't matter. We don't care about what your witness says. I mean, look, in Georgia, they released the indictment on Trump before the grand jury even voted. They clearly have fabricated this for political purposes.
This is the thing that I find fascinating, right? They post it, and then they lie about it, right? Yep. They literally were like, "Oh, that was a
fictitious document."
Then it comes out again, and then they get caught lying again about what it was. This is what blows my mind. No one cared. What do you like the idea that...
I don't think that's true.
No. We did. Okay. But the idea that no major network said they just got caught in a lie. This is what that... And I know that...
Well, let me try this. France didn't care, right? The people of France didn't care at all that this information came out.
Right.
That's how you need to start viewing the Democrats.
Right.
They do not care about the Constitution, about your voting process.
Right.
They wrote an article in Time magazine called "The Shadow Campaign to Fortify the Election." They basically broke down how the election and the choice of the people are meaningless to their whims.
Yeah.
So when you say no one cared, no, you're talking about the people of France. If you're England and you're in conflict with France, it's surprising that they'd be like, can you believe the people of France don't care that the king just passed this decree? Well, of course they don't care.
No, but
they don't live in your world.
Can I just ask this? And I'm being serious here. That I get it. Like I've lived this for 30 years of double standards, hypocrisy. Okay, but this gets to, I think, the nut of what you're saying, where it's like at some point I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. They literally went through the motions, and I always think there's going to be at least some degree of fake outrage. Like, oh my gosh, this happened. No one from the major networks even acknowledged it happened. If it wasn't for like you guys and some folks in
the future.
But I just, and again, maybe everyone, like the idea that we continue to go, you've got to be kidding me, because the goalposts keep getting moving farther and farther away from what I expected reality. I used to get everyone always talks about how, the evening news used to be, no way they didn't. It never was fair. They just faked it better. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and everyone played the game now, but the reality that no one even tries to fake it anymore, like the faux outrage of like, oh, this happened.
It's because you're at war.
Well, but and again, I call me naive, but I'm literally going, I've been watching this for 30 years and saying at least people pretend that there's some modicum of real like outrage. The idea that a court published this, no one said anything.
But people do care. And we experience it. And my experience over the past few years with extended family and friends, a few years ago, the people, a lot of the extended family, they were passive liberal, passive anti-Trump. Today, they are passive anti-Democrat. What I mean by passive is they don't pay attention for the most part. They're not going on Facebook and posting memes about it. They're not on Twitter. A few years ago, they were saying things like, oh, Trump is so awful, I can't stand him. Today, what do I hear from them? Oh, I'm so sick of the Democrats. I'm so sick of this. Their crime is running rampant. And you ask them, like, you're going to vote for Trump? I don't know about that. But they're no longer in the position where they're like, Trump is evil and must be stopped. So here's what I think may occur. They may still get their default anti-Trump votes. But I think a lot of regular people, you don't have COVID lockdowns anymore, and you don't have a scapegoat. Trump was the president. They can say all your problems are Trump's fault.
Yep.
Now Biden's the president. So you're going to have a very, very, very difficult time to go to the exact same people and say, remember everything we promised you and didn't deliver on? Vote for it again. They're going to be like, I don't even know anymore. I'm out. Or when you look at what's going on with the raids, where these gangs are raiding Nordstrom and the Nike store, people, look, there's a lady in Portland. She got cracked in the face with an aluminum water bottle. And then she's like, I'm voting Republican now. And I'm like, well, I'm surprised at getting smashed in the face. Perhaps, for many people, it was the Chaz. But I think things are getting so bad, both in people's personal lives and in the political space, it's going to cost them dearly. I think Trump knows this. And I think that's why Trump said, I need one more indictment to win. And I think the reason why he's playing along and just doing everything is because he's playing the martyr route. Let them be the villains in the evil empire, and I'll be the underdog fighting the machine.
I hope so.
Well, all that really matters is this. Will the Republican Party, will Donald Trump build the biggest ballot harvesting and chasing machine ever seen in this country? Because if they don't, then sentiment means nothing.
And that's the key. This is why I was telling you, I'm launching this new show, because people have to understand how to win. We sit back and everybody goes, I don't like ballot harvesting. I want to vote on election day. I think there's a reason we have election day. We've lost the battle. Right? Everyone now is mailing in their ballot, and this is what the Dems outdid us in COVID. It was they cheated, they changed the laws, they didn't abide by any of the local regulations.
They threw out any lawsuit that challenged their changes.
Correct.
On standing.
And so the reality is that either you get up and now say, okay, ballot harvesting is legal, we're going to start getting all of these people registered the way, like, we've got to understand the rules and play by them. And excuse me, not play, but understand that this is how they're playing by them. And if we don't do it, then we're going to continue to lose. I keep looking back at Georgia. Do you realize if we had won that race in Georgia, we wouldn't have any of the issues in terms of the Biden nominees that we had? The judges, the nominees, the oversight would start happening in the Senate.
I think that's Trump's fault.
Huh? Okay, but here's the point. Enough people in Georgia didn't get out there and do it. And if we don't realize the consequences of these elections, we're going to get stuck with these policies and these people that are ruining the country.
We saw a lot of sentiment from people in Georgia in that Senate runoff that said, what's the point of voting anyway? It's all fraud.
Yes.
Well, congratulations. Your fraud narrative suppressed your own vote.
Correct.
I'm not going to claim that there is fraud, but I cannot stand the idea of voting on an electric voting machine. The proprietary code tallies my vote. I put that in quotes behind the scenes. So it's like I throw a rock into the ocean and someone else is going to be like, oh yeah, your rock landed over there. Trust me.
Republicans in Congress should pass a bill banning the use of proprietary voting machines.
Absolutely need the code to be free, because I have evidence of a developer who's testifying in front of Judiciary Committee that he built technology to flip the vote 51-49 in 2000. It's sickening that
famous footage.
Yeah. Let me.
But more importantly, there was a story about a guy who got a speeding ticket, and he went to court and he said he wanted the source code of the radar gun because for all we know, it's a random number generator, and you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that thing actually showed my speed. And the judge was like, "You're right."
Yeah, man.
How do we know that thing does what people claim it to do?
Clinton Eugene Curtis testified that he, for Congressman Tom Feeney in 2000, built the prototype software package that would secretly rig an election to sway the result 51-49 in 2000. And then I think George Bush won that election 51-49.
We don't know.
Very strange. Yeah, we don't know. And that's the problem is we don't know. I need to verify.
I'm saying we don't know what voting machines do. Nobody does. All we know is you have a machine. We have various machines where you can tap a screen and it claims you voted, but I have no idea what's going on. Like, why would I make that assumption? The software code for any voting machine should be publicly available to everybody. More importantly, I think due to the complexity of it, they should be outlawed outright.
Also, foreign
and Congress should do it right now.
Like
I know,
Dominions
seriously.
Why doesn't Congress do it though? I mean, what is the benefit of keeping them around?
There's no benefit.
But then,
just so you understand, the answer is because they're going to claim that there's no federal. That these are all state-run elections. That's their. I'm not explaining.
Right. No, you're right.
Right.
States have a right.
They have a right to. They each run their own elections,
yep.
and therefore we don't have any over. Which is ridiculous. But again, this is sort of like the drinking age. There is no federal law that says it's 21, but they just tell everyone transportation dollars flow to states that have a 21. Right. So they tie the money. So you can do it, but they just don't want to. And the reality is, but look, can I just get back to the bottom line? There's a discussion to be had on what you and Ian are bringing up. But the point is that too many people are saying, well, until that's done, I'm not voting. And that's what happened in Georgia. Well, guess what? Then we lose. So you can do both at the same time. You can basically say, all right, I'll get out there, I'll play by the current rules, and we need to fix it. But if we keep losing elections, they're just going to keep steamrolling us.
I thought for sure Hillary was going to win 2016 because I'd given up. I was totally black-pilled. Like, well, I can't prove that these voting machines are legit.
They were so convinced that Trump didn't have any. I think part of it was they didn't have their guard up. They were like, there's no way this is going to happen. And they weren't going to, in 2020, they were like, all right, that's why we're going to keep changing these rules. Wisconsin, Nevada, Georgia. They was like, okay, Pennsylvania's Constitution doesn't allow early voting.
Right. They just did it anyway.
They just did it.
And then the court ruled it was fine.
Yeah.
We got some efforts here. Let's pull up this story. We got this from the Post-Millennial. Georgia state senator moves to impeach Trump prosecutor Fani Willis. Moore said we must strip all funding and, if appropriate, impeach Fani Willis. So he drafted this letter. I believe. They don't have it. He said, "We, the undersigned, being the duly elected members of the Georgia House of Representatives and Georgia Senate, and comprising 3/5 of each respective house pursuant to Article 4, Section 2, Paragraph 7B, hereby certify you in writing with a copy to the Secretary of State that in our opinion an emergency exists in the affairs of the state, requiring a special session to be convened under that section for all purposes to include, without limitation, the review and response to the actions of Fani Willis." So this is Georgia Senator Colton Moore, who apparently went on to say that they must defund or impeach if appropriate. Now, I'm not entirely convinced they'll do anything. I don't trust Georgia Republicans at all, but I'm curious where this goes. I'm not so sure this ends with Trump simply surrendering. We've already got Mark Meadows filing to have this moved to federal court. A bunch of analysts believe that will happen very, very quickly. You've got John Eastman severing his case from the rest of the group, saying his defense is different from theirs. And then you've got the attempts to remove the prosecutor. I think Donald Trump should his lawyer should be filing a claim. This is interesting to me because why isn't this happening? It should be the first thing we heard. His lawyers file with the federal government on challenging the constitutionality of trying to have him arrested.
Right.
That should be the first thing that happens.
For a state in a state court for a federal election.
But apparently Trump is agreeing to surrender. He's apparently negotiating.
But there's a bigger point. I grew up in Rhode Island where organized crime, RICO was used largely for organized crime in in mafia, right? The idea that you are now, and you made this point about Jenna Ellis a while ago, there are people who, if you read the indictment and what they're being charged with, the different counts in the indictment, it's like tweeted, did this, represented this. They are creating a criminal enterprise under a statute that was made to go after organized crime because mob bosses would escape because they're like, technically I didn't do that or whatever.
Right.
But this is I've been involved in two really close elections. 1994 was involved in a race that lost by 21 votes on election night, and then 2000 we won by 386 votes. The first thing you do is you're out there claiming that you won. You're making sure that you exhaust every recourse in terms of petitioning the government, talking to nothing that they did in this case is less than expressing yourself under the laws that exist in our Constitution to participate in a democracy. They are creating a criminal enterprise by saying, this goes back to what we're talking about. This is how far they're going.
Yeah.
It feels like a sort of slip on George's part, right? They see them as criminals, so they're going to make them into criminals.
You even saw Chris Christie, who is literally all he talks about in his entire campaign is Trump, no Trump. No more Trump. He came out and said this is a mistake how they're handling this, because I think again they've jumped the shark. They keep going one step further. And in her case, it was because I want to show everyone in the world that I can be the champion that slays the dragon.
Yeah, I want to.
And they're showing themselves to be insane. They're unhinged.
Yeah,
and they've got unhinged supporters on social. You know, I think one big component of the culture war has been that fringe weirdos on social media drive the conversation among Democrats. And when they started banning conservatives, something interesting happened. I want you to imagine there's two kids. One's filthy and covered in chocolate ice cream all over his face, and he looks like a disaster. And the other kid's very clean looking, and his hair is parted perfectly, and he's wearing a nice little suit. And you think, man, that kid's well educated, well taken care of, and well developed. And that other kid is something's wrong with him. You assume the dirty kid is got something wrong with him. The reality is, the mother just does not let the other kid have chocolate ice cream. And if he can't get access to it, he can't get all messy. The other kid, she lets him have it. So what we're seeing with the censorship on Twitter, they kept allowing the left to say the craziest things imaginable, but the right would be banned instantly. What happened is you got a perception of the right as Ben Shapiro saying, well, listen, these arguments we're going to have, they're completely on the taxes. And it's very basic, very normal conservatism. On the left, you have people arguing that you can be a chimp if you want. You just need to get the appropriate surgery. And so now you end up with post-liberals and disaffected liberals, people who are like, I can't associate with this. Democratic politicians on social media are adhering to the voices of the most fringe and insane personalities. And people on the right were listening to a bunch of regular, moderately conservative individuals. This made Democrat politicians sound like crackpots when they start advocating for child sex changes and sex shows for children. Now you get regular people being like, yo, that's crazy. That's too far for me, because they were allowed to say these things and social media wouldn't ban it.
Yeah. Well, think about it. You brought up Sound of Freedom before. I started, before I actually saw the movie, I started going, what's all this QAnon stuff, right? I finally watched the entire movie. I'm like, I'd seen the clips. I'd watched the trailer. I talked to a bunch of the guys. And then I kept saying, like, I just don't get the QAnon thing.
There's
so
nothing.
I watched it. No, I mean, literally, if you watch, but this is what they do. They demonized it. And what happened is more people said, I got to watch it. It became unbelievably successful. But they don't know where to stop. QAnon, there's nothing like.
But that used to be the thing they would say to keep people away from certain topics.
They're saying that about Oliver Anthony. They're saying he's a QAnon guy.
Wait, they're still using it. I'm just saying it's not as effective as it used to be.
It's
Before, when you would say QAnon, people would be like, that's crazy internet stuff. And now you say QAnon, people are like, oh, that means mainstream people in the media don't like it, and therefore maybe I should check it out on my own. There is a reawakening of curiosity.
And it didn't work. Like, people went and saw that movie
in droves.
Yeah, and they're still going. 175 million, basically. Yeah, beating Indiana Jones and a bunch of other films for like the top box office for the year. Absolutely incredible. And the budget was really small, so it's actually performing way better than we can even realize. Some of these movies, it's like, oh, it made $500 million and it cost 600. Yeah, come on. Sound of Freedom was 15 million and it's at 175 million. Mm-hmm. And again, Bud Light and all these other things. I think we win culturally. And then what happens is Oliver Anthony is a really great example. John Rich tweeted this out, that all these labels are tripping over themselves trying to get him on board or sign with him. But if he said if Anthony was signed to these labels, they wouldn't let that song go out. You'd never hear it.
Yeah.
No, why don't you write a song about drinking beer with your dog in your truck because your girl left you or something? Not about minors on an island or whatever. Now that's a bit too much. So it's a grassroots effort, but the culture matters because money talks and BS walks. Disney and all these organizations, they're losing money. They're going to have to fall in line or their money's going to dry up.
Yeah, that was similar. Is that the money, like Alex Jones got I don't know if slander is the right word, but he got, demeaned in the media, got talked badly about. Then he got deleted from Twitter. But then when they went after his pocketbook, that's when it really stifled his ability to create. Now he's working for Steven Crowder, I think. He's working with Mug
He has a special with Mug Club, but Alex Jones and InfoWars are all still doing their thing.
But they just shredded his organization financially and caused him so much stress for years. And now you see they're doing with Donald Trump through the legal system. Like, you can talk crap about someone only so long before it turns against you. But if you go after finance, I think that is a way to permanently destroy someone's ability to communicate.
Yeah, doesn't
to
Alex
function.
Jones owe like the GDP of France or something?
Billions of
it
dollars.
doesn't make any
ridiculous.
sense. It makes it. I mean, and I would think if you were the people suing him, you're never going to see that money. So if you really felt like you needed it to fund whatever, whoever is acting on your behalf is actually trying to make a political point, and presumably they are also in on it. I think that's the whole point of our justice system right now, especially because so much of it plays out in the court of public opinion. It's not about actual justice or figuring out what's right or wrong. It's about getting the mug shots. It's about getting the perp walk. It's about getting the headlines, being able to say, well, I was the one who filed charges. I was the one who did this. I served on that jury and we did this thing. And therefore I have the moral superiority. And that's how people feel like they have influence in culture.
They just want a Wikipedia page, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking like
That's all they want.
Like how Alex sacrificed his financial stability, or had it was sacrificed on the altar in front of him, and he watched and watched it happen. Is like the founding fathers of the United States. They risked everything, man. They risked their fortunes as well. Like, at some point you speak out against it, they might shut your bank account off, but like, you got to take that risk. If you want to speak what you believe, there's a risk involved, and the risk will probably intensify in the coming 5 years. Probably by 2027, we're going to see a sea change. That's when graphene goes peak. I think that's when money might not become way, way less important. I think the value of money actually is going to continue to diminish.
We'll see what happens with that. I mean, Michael Burry, we talked about the other day, made a big bet against the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. And so everyone's kind of like looking around like, does he know something?
Exactly.
It doesn't mean he does. He got the mortgage-backed securities things right in 2008. Doesn't mean he's a prophet. It means he got one big one right. I don't know. I don't know if I want to hope he's right this time or not. I mean, a shock to the system could be good. It could be bad. I have no idea. I think ultimately the scary thing is it's going to negatively impact working class people who are already having a hard enough time buying groceries.
Yeah, I'd just like to know when that's going to happen, so I can plan
Well,
accordingly.
SpaceX, what SpaceX sold all their Bitcoin today or something like that?
Did they really?
And then the price of Bitcoin collapsed, and then they announced Ethereum ETF or whatever futures, and then it jumped back up. So it's like, yeah, everyone would have loved to have known that SpaceX was about to sell off their Bitcoin so they could get out before the price went down.
Wow,
But
yeah. Everything dropped 6%.
let's go to the good news. Ladies and gentlemen from Rolling Stone. Oh, they're seething over this. Oliver Anthony's populist, polarizing Rich Men North of Richmond on track to debut at #1. The Virginia upstart's song about rich politicians and poor people abusing welfare is already atop the iTunes, Spotify, and Apple Music charts. He's got, what are they saying, 98,000 digital song sales, 7.8 million streams. I don't know where that'll put him on the Hot 100. It is very difficult to top that chart. But they say Morgan Wallen's Last Night, the reigning #1 from this week's Billboard chart and one of the biggest hits of the year, has 13 million streams, but just over 3,000 digital sales with 41 million airplay impressions. It's a major year for the genre, blah, blah, blah. All right, so let's break this down. I could be wrong in my math, but I believe that one sale is 1,500 streams. So do the math and you'll calculate how many streams that Oliver Anthony actually has. But that 41 million airplay impressions, that's hard to beat.
Yeah.
That's basically the radio station saying we'll play your music. And of course, they're not going to get Oliver Anthony on there. It's going to be very difficult now with the weight of the song. They might be forced to.
Oh, yeah.
But you know why he's I have a real simple reason why this song's doing so well and why they're so mad about it. What did the corporate music industry give us in terms of music? Wet ass pussy. Yeah, okay. That's the stuff that they tell you to listen to. Okay, fine. Adele is up there somewhere and Taylor Swift. And then you have that teeny bopper stuff from Harry Styles or whatever. It's not only just WAP or whatever, but this is the antithesis of WAP. So this is something that regular people who are sick of the disgusting Sodom and Gomorrah music and entertainment industry can now be like, hey, there's some music. Hey, I understand this. Hey, these words mean something to me. And that's pushing back. So this, you combine it with all the other cultural endeavors we've been winning on, and it just feels good.
You know what I thought was fascinating? You put the headline up from Rolling Stone. For the first, I don't know, maybe 24, 48, 72 hours, he was a phenomenon. Everybody was excited. And then once the folks from the right, John Rich and others, sort of talked about him and made him a cause, the Rolling Stones of the world suddenly branded him. It was like, oh God, we were initially positive on this guy. The second that people on the right embraced him, what's the headline? Polarizing. He was polarizing in QAnon but for the first 24 hours, he was a rock star and, a savant. And, it was so funny to watch how quickly they shifted once folks on the right embraced the message and his success.
They're like, if you guys like him, we hate him.
Exactly.
There's nothing to do. I mean, I, for one, love to see ginger representation. I think redheads don't have enough place in the media.
Look at that beard.
Yeah, I feel like we should credit him as representing a very minority
Marginalized.
Genetic group. Yes, thank you, Serge. But I think part of it, too, is, at least for me, again, this is the sort of the alternative country folk genre that I personally already like. But I think he's talented, right? So much of what's sort of astroturf right now in pop music is just like the same one verse with one bridge. It's all kind of electronically done. And maybe those singers and artists and songwriters have some talent on some level, but because it's supposed to appeal to the masses, they try to make it as simple and as, earwormy as possible. Whereas this is actually catchy. He's actually got a good voice. He's actually a talented musician. And that's more effective. Instead of sort of trying to make it this garbage song, giving giving the people something with feeling is really having an impact.
So I have a correction. It's not 1,500. It's 150. For every sale of Richmond, north of Richmond, that counts as 150 streams. So he's currently sitting at, with these numbers, we're looking at about 22.5 million streams. He's not going to beat these other radio guys. Now, he would, beat this other song. It only has 13 million streams and 3,000 sales. That ain't nothing. But they've got the radio behind them. So I can only tell you this, man. If you really like the song, y'all need to go on iTunes and buy it. And tell all your friends to buy it. Because if you're going to listen to it, look, we've talked about it with our music and everything, but I'm going to say this right now. I know you all love this song. I love this song. It's a great song. I had played it on loop earlier. I was like, damn, this song's fantastic. Buy it. Spend that $1. Buy it. Go on iTunes, buy the song, tell all your friends to buy the song. Anyone you know who listens to it, you should say, hey, man, let's make this guy the superstar. Let's make him bigger than Cardi B, bigger than Taylor Swift. All you got to do is spend $1. That $1 counts as 150 streams. Let's get this song to debut platinum. I think he needs 75 to 150. I think he needs 150 million. He needs just about 8 times where he's currently at in terms of streams and purchases. So right now they're all seething. They're trying to argue that he's a plant.
Yeah, that's the
look at
best
this
part.
intelligence. Or look at this, Oliver Anthony and the incoherence of right-wing populism. They're losing their mind over a factory worker turned farmer who wrote a country acoustic song. It didn't do anything to anybody. He wrote a song about how he feels, and they are losing their minds.
But this gets back to the Bud Light, the Target, right? In the last 24 months, give or take, I feel like conservatives have gotten their sea legs. We go out there and go, guess what? We're not going to take it. We're not going to shop, or we're not going to buy you. And then conversely, Sound of Freedom, Oliver Anthony, we go out there and go, all right, we support them. This is I think we are finally starting to get it together. you actually don't like something, then stop going into the store. Stop buying the product. Don't just say, ugh, the heck with it. And for the things that we do like, and Tim, you're absolutely right. You go out, you spend that buck. At some point, they can't ignore it. And that's what happened with Sound of Freedom. And frankly, before that, The Chosen. And I know they've got a bunch more in the works at Angel Studios. But that's what's happening with this guy as well. It's $1 to make a difference. And that's what's going on. Is I get excited when I see success stories like this, because it just shows that we can do it. And I think that's frankly what's going on in media too. I tell people all the time, go look at what you guys are doing at Timcast. Look at what Patrick Bet-David's doing. All of these folks that the media doesn't want to pretend exist are unbelievably successful. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's like, you know what? I'm tired. The corporate stuff, it's not where the future is anymore. And I think if we band together and support each other when events like this come along, this is where I think we start to win again.
I love Oliver Anthony's performance. I think that song is pretty simple. It's like a verse, chorus, and it's just ends after that. So there's no bridge. There's no 3 parts that you would consider to make a hit. But the way he performs it is so real, visceral.
Less is more.
It changes you. And
raw.
like, it's the kind of thing where he could tell you a bedtime story and it would be invigorating because of the way he tells it. Post Malone's like that. This guy's like Post Malone. He's got that posty energy. I love it.
He needs 1 million sales to be platinum. You need 150 million streams for platinum. I hope this song gets there.
Yeah.
It's like the biggest song in the world.
So where's
right
he
now.
at right now? What's the
20 some odd million and 98,000 sales. So he's at 10% of the sales needed. Look, debuting at platinum is a big ask. Songs go platinum after like a few years. Then they're like, hey, you finally reached that, you crossed that mark where, you know, you've got enough plays of your song.
But it would be cool if he could do it, because he seems like someone who has strong values. I mean, he posted earlier today that he's launching, you know, merch for this with a local t-shirt company from wherever he's from in Virginia. Like
Farmville.
I think that's cool.
Farmville.
Yeah.
He's from Farmville?
Yeah.
Yes.
And now you understand why people are like plant. You know what I mean? No,
we
I'm
live in a
just kidding.
simulation.
But I like that he is saying like I want to support other small businesses, and I think that is cool to see. It would be very easy for him to be like, people want my stuff, let me figure out the fastest way to get to them, or a big corporation that can help me out. And I would understand why he would do it. I just like that he's opting to work locally and small. That's a value that I would want to see in my own life.
Check
Check this out. They say, Fox News, Oliver Anthony says he's turned down $8 million offer since going viral.
Smart
Nothing
move.
special about me.
Yeah, dude. Stay independent, brother.
all right? Just I will Roger up if you want to give me $8 million.
You'll really
They'll own
say one record is coming.
All right,
They'll cancel your show. It's not worth
Just
it.
so you know, if you saw me dance, my singing's worse than that.
Dude, I listened to his song like 4 or 5 times, this Rich Man of North Richmond, and it was like the 5th time I listened to it, something struck me. Like I just started shaking. I was like, I got goosebumps all through my body for like almost the entire song. But sometimes that's what happens. It takes a few times. You listen to something or you eat something a few times and it's an acquired taste.
It's real music.
Yeah.
So much music. Because we've been putting out music. Let me explain to you guys. We talk to these industry dudes and they say, you got to get on the DSPs, the digital streaming playlists. Once you're there, they'll automatically play your song for people if it's in a certain genre. And then you'll start getting play. And I'm like, I get it. If you're in the machine, if you are approved by the people who work for Pandora, for Spotify or whatever, if you're well known, they'll auto load your new song. It will be guaranteed to get a certain number of hits, and then you're going to chart.
Yeah.
All the stuff we had to do when we released songs and we charted was asking people to like, hey, be active, listen to our music. So we're fighting through this machine that props up everybody else. Oliver Anthony has hit the dream. He has 17 million hits on YouTube, 98,000 sales, the equivalent of about 14,700,000. So he's looking at 30 plus million streams, all organically, with no industry support, because he wrote a good song that resonates with people.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And
He's got 19 million on YouTube now.
Radio,
19 million.
It's 3 million in one day.
Radio WV, where I saw this video originally, does stuff with other artists. Like he's sort of, I hope he does well individually. I don't want to take attention away from him, but like he is representational of a whole group of artists who probably don't get the attention from mainstream outlets because they are not exactly what they're looking for. And I think it's cool to have someone who's sort of opening the door and saying, you know, if you listen, like it becomes that thing. If you like this music, you can probably figure out other artists that you can support that are similar to him.
And I think, Tim, you mentioned that he didn't have industry support, but I think he has an industry support. It's just a new kind of industry. It's a decentralized creator industry.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
Jack Posobiec, people that fire out his music to 100,000 views
Well, I
and
think
stuff.
I think the video was actually posted to some kind of music channel.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Radio W.
Radio W.
But it's small. I mean, there's another one, I think it's called Gems on VHS. Like, if you like this style of music, you can kind of find it, but I think you're not entirely wrong. It's not like the mega big studio, or I can't name any. It's very different. You might be well known in your genre, you might grow, but I don't know of anyone else who's sort of launched into this stardom from these smaller groups. Not that
People
they
need
aren't
to-
doing great work.
They need to understand too. So he's got this Facebook post where he said, "People in the music industry give me blank stares when I brush off $8 million offers." They're not offering you $8 million.
No, that's usually just an advance too. And then you get
Yep.
the $8 million and you have to pay back the $8 million after you've made your record sales. And like they think he could do it. In this case, he could probably do that. But
They're
for
saying
most people,
this was one song. We could take all your music.
Yeah.
We put it on an
all the
album.
money.
We put advertising behind it. We're going to give you $8 million. And then what happens is they give you $8 million to be paid back.
right?
And then you got to pay back all the marketing, pay back, all the placement, pay back the managers. The manager gets cut. And then after all of your albums sell, they're like, here's your 15% cut of the $10 million we made off the album. You're going to get $1 million, but that's going to go back towards the debt you have with us. So you actually owe us $7 million. Have a nice day.
Exactly. That's how it goes.
And you can't say anything more about these elite stuff. Like, here's what you're going to write now.
yeah,
Yep.
Exactly.
it's funny how they're calling him a plant, but it's like it's just so obviously not the case. Especially if
it's-
you're turning that down.
It's such desperation.
His name is Christopher Anthony Lunsford. His grandfather is Oliver Anthony.
Okay.
And
So that's his
Oliver
stage
Anthony
name.
music is dedicated not only to him, but 1930s Appalachia, where he was born and raised.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, wow.
Appalachia's the best.
Chris Anthony.
He says I'll gladly go by Oliver because everyone knows me as such. Amazing.
This is like
There's really cool music coming out of Appalachia. I feel like there's a whole renaissance here in terms of music. I mean, it's just because it's not what Hollywood is expecting, but there are a lot of really interesting artists that are based in Appalachia.
it's clean air. It's easier to breathe here. It's easier to sing.
Yeah.
I was in LA for way too long. There's too much brake dust in the air. It's hard.
And it's different values. It's not the same thing. Like, you're not hearing another song about like a party of people trying to get famous. Not that those aren't
WAP.
real experiences. The most horrifying song of all time.
Do you know when you look at movies that are solid content, good values, family values, Christian values, name one that hasn't done well. They all do well. This is the funny thing is this song is another example of this. It's almost like Hollywood and the music industry are fighting it. When these songs come out, Surfer, the one on Bethany Hamilton, they all tend to do well. Passion of the Christ, they do well, and yet Hollywood goes, well, instead, let's make another one that has to do with a bunch of smut and things like that. And yet, here's a song like this, no marketing, no agent, no nothing, busts to the top of the charts. You talk about your experience. People want good content, good music. They almost are like, well, how do we then jam them back with some more crap?
Yeah.
It is what I find
But if you-
fascinating is it's the antithesis of capitalism.
But
Yeah.
if you're always eating sugar, you're always going to need a dentist, right? Because you have cavities.
Yeah,
Like, they
true.
do this because the music isn't fulfilling to your soul, and so therefore you're trying to try new things and go watch more TV and more movies. You're looking for that connection. Like,
I think this solidifies what I've been saying for probably about 15 years. We are the media. When they say the media,
Right.
that's us. This is it.
He's got 4 songs in the iTunes top 10.
Yeah, go buy them all.
He's got Rich Men North of Richmond is number 1. Ain't Got a Dollar, number 3. 7, I've Got to Get Sober. And 8, I Want to Go Home.
Can we get away with playing any of that right now?
No, I don't have anything.
I've only heard his number 1. I haven't
Yeah,
heard his other ones.
they get more support, and I saw some people in the chat like a couple days ago. They get more support. He gets more support if you go to his actual channel and you
Yes,
go and
buy
watch
it.
his video. You go and buy the actual thing. If you want to support him, the best thing you can do is look it up yourself and go and buy it because that just shows the algorithm more people came there naturally. That's
So
the
I'm
best
just
to
so I'm
support him.
clear, are you saying don't go to iTunes?
No,
I'm
go
saying-
to iTunes and
yeah.
buy it.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, right.
Spend that dollar. Spend that $1 because that $1 is equal to listening to the song 150 times.
Exactly.
And if all 40,000 people who are watching right now buy that song for $1, it's going to help him blast off. But more importantly, if all 40,000 people who are watching tell all their friends and family who like the song to buy it, hey, look, he's got 19 million views on YouTube. Yeah. Let's say that everyone listened to the song twice. Let's just say he's got 9 million. let's just cut it
that'd
down.
be so
Let's
lucky.
let's say that 3 million unique listeners. Imagine if they each bought that song for $1. Not only would this dude be a millionaire because he'd take home like 2 point something million, then taxes come in, he'd take home about $1 million something. But he would be, I think that would put him double platinum.
Yeah, easily.
wild.
Double platinum debut for this song.
And that's if people just go and search a song, go look it up. I know it seems better to like give them the platform for on our channel, but that's the best way to help the guy.
I want this guy to be a millionaire and to be successful, and I want young people to look at him and his message and be like, that's your path of success. I don't want them to look at Wet Ass Pussy and be like, that's how you're going to be a famous musician. I want them to look at Oliver Anthony and be like, that's your path to being a musician, being real, being genuine, and like honor, integrity, real issues. And I just want the massive multinational entertainment industrial complex to fail.
Sound of
So
Freedom.
like, please just buy this.
Sound of Freedom does a thing where you can pay it forward, where you buy the tickets and other people get them for free. So I think a lot of people that watch YouTube
You can't do this.
You cannot do it with music. That's what I was going to ask. Is there a system where we can pay it forward for artists?
There are.
I'd put $1,000 into this guy so 1,000 people could have it.
They don't allow that.
Well, we should start doing it, even if it doesn't count towards the views. It would mean that people could listen
then
to it.
Taylor Swift will go in and be like, put $100 million into give the song for free, and then I'm #1 for 10 weeks.
But if it didn't count towards the views, if it just let people hear it, I mean, they can hear it on YouTube anyway.
Well, they can, it's all.
That's why I'm saying everybody who's already listened to the song and likes it, you got to buy it.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, I wish all 40,000 people listening right now just went and bought it.
Is there a way? You know what? Hold on. I'd like to know.
5,000.
Is there a way that we can see? Again, this is not my world here. Can we see where it is right now? I'd love to see.
You can't see it real time.
See where what is?
I would love to know real time because to Tim's point. Oh, he knows.
Yeah, so he's got access to the back end where he can probably see streams coming in, and not necessarily sales. There are some APIs that I can.
You can
they estimate.
Yeah,
they estimate.
Not exact.
Yeah, if he's got anybody with access to, I think it's called Luminate, then they can see in real time, but it might take a day to update or something like that.
Do you have his number? Chris's number?
No.
Chris, hit me up.
I'm sure he's got John Rich helping him out.
Oh, good. John, get us in touch, man.
They're good.
He lives close by, dude.
I know. He's like 2.5 hours away.
We're going to rock so hard with Vivek on keys.
You know what? Hold on. Let's just go.
Let's roll.
Right now?
Let's get in the car right now and just drive to Farmville and
I
go look
love
for
it. Let's
We'll
do
start
it.
yelling, Chris, where are you at?
Farmville.
I've been to Farmville.
Is it cool?
It's a beautiful place.
They have a video game.
No, well, there's the reason I just not that I am, but there was the site that was the site of the vice presidential debate in 2015.
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah, it's not like you were like, hey, you
you're
Farmville aficionado.
you're just driving through.
No, it's a beautiful place in Virginia, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I remember the video game. That's about it.
Is that what it was? Was it based on the city?
No,
Dude, he put Farmville on the map.
Yeah.
Farmville. He's got in the country. He's got a bunch. He's got what has he got? 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 5 songs in the top country charts and 4 songs in the iTunes top.
I
10.
like Chris Anthony. I think that's a better name than Oliver Anthony.
That's
think
too
it's
late,
too
brother.
late, yeah.
You
think so?
on that.
I'm going to keep calling him
out.
Chris and let the people be damned. No offense. Be confused, I should say, if you don't understand who I'm talking about. But it's Chris Anthony. Like, don't put him through that. Don't change his name. But I mean,
But
maybe he did
wanted
it to himself.
because he
Ode
listed
to his
music under it,
grandfather.
right? Like,
I mean, shout out to Oliver.
Yeah.
Old Ollie Anthony.
Yeah,
Big
true.
granddad making
I
magic.
hope he also had a ginger beard. Like, just a great genetic trait.
This is going to be Ian's trivia question.
Chris Anthony.
What is the real name of Oliver Anthony?
Yeah. Chris Anthony's that. It sounds like that wizard, that magician. What's his name? Chris
Anthony.
Angel?
Oh,
Chris Angel, yeah.
Mind Freak.
Yeah,
the man.
Mind Freak.
Yeah. He's still doing his thing in Vegas, I think.
Oh, no way.
Dude,
Yeah.
talk
Seriously?
about music changing the freaking world. This is-
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
so
That
cool.
winning the cultural battles is how you win everything because, again, there's going to be some 15-year-old kid. He's going to hear about this, the #1 song, 19 million views in a week, and he's going to say, I want that. I want to make the work that everyone loves and respects. And he's going to be looking at a guy who's talking about the working class being screwed over.
And when you listen to musicians, when you're 9 and 12 years old and you listen to a musician over and over and over and over and you're writing it in, you become like that later in life. If you want to become a musician, that's part of you. Like Eddie Vedder was that for me. I would 12 years old in my bedroom over and over, Pearl Jam nonstop. And now that just comes out of me like that growl, you know, it's part of how I communicate. And so this guy's doing it Oliver's doing that for kids right now.
Can I ask? Do you guys know? And I was late to the. I saw the video when everyone else kind of when it. But what was the wick like that lit him.
I don't know. I woke up
think-
one morning.
I know.
and
All of
saw
a
it on
sudden, everyone's
Twitter.
talking
I
about
think
it.
it
No,
was-
no, I saw it on Twitter.
I
when
think Posobiec
very
tweeted it
few,
out.
Yeah, it didn't have that much views at all, and I listened.
But I
and was
saw
like, oh, it's
Bongino
cool.
and a bunch of these other guys. There's some connective tissue to a bunch of these guys. Some guy.
Who saw it first?
Yeah, and they were tweeting out that's the guy, and he.
Yeah.
But
and then once that takes, like the algorithm takes it, and then it just starts, putting it in for people that it thinks you'll probably like this. And you'll
I
probably
think
like
for the
this.
most, I think this was a natural viral phenomenon
Yes,
of
definitely.
people
That's
on the
what makes
right
it-
hearing the song and posting it in replies and sharing it
Yep.
with, Jack Posobiec said, would be a shame if this song went viral, and then
Yeah,
people start clicking and retweeting it.
Jack said, "Don't even remember last time a new song hit me like this." I mean, I hear you, Jack. Actually, after I read Jack's tweet is when I listened to it and I got the goosebumps because I heard it through Jack's ears. It's like, this is wild. I wonder if he was the first one to put on the map, August 11th.
But so this, it's all part of the bigger picture with the failures of Bud Light, the failures of Target, the success of Sound of Freedom. It is people saying we're not going to buy your weird Sodom and Gomorrah garbage anymore, and we're going to focus on things that actually matter to us.
Yeah.
That is the boycott. That is the boycott. And if that keeps up in a few years, we're not going to be complaining about Target anymore. You know why? Target's going to have a cardboard cutout of Oliver Anthony. They're going to get rid of all of their weird child, LGBT stuff because it doesn't make money and it freaks people out. And these big corporations are going to, what they're going to do is they're going to start shoveling all that stuff into the back under the rug and be like, no, we were never about that. We like what you like. Come give us your money.
Yes, what is popular? What is popular?
Absolutely. And you know what?
Us too, of course.
I
They tell you
still
what it
I
is.
still despise the Faceless Corporation, but we want Target to replace their Pride section with the Appalachian Music Collection.
You want them to be chasing your values.
Yep.
And I
Right,
think
right.
that would be an incredible win. It'd be nice to see this happen.
You could turn it around and make it so where like the industries are actually chasing what everyone likes, not the industry telling everyone what they like and then selling them what the industry tells them. You should like this. It's people saying, I actually like this, and then forcing those companies to catch up. Like, oh, okay, we'll sell you this then because you like it.
Yeah, well, you said pride, and I was like, this guy's got American pride. He's singing about the threads of the United States. That's
It's
like
funny
real
that
pride, man.
Try That in a Small Town is currently number 6.
Oh wow.
They're so salty about all of this country music taking
And
off.
Fast Car, Luke Combs got in trouble for singing it, even though Tracy Chapman was like, no, it's fine if he covers it. And they were like, no, a white man cannot sing this song. And it's still there.
Fast Car?
Yeah.
Who covered it?
Luke Combs, who's like a country singer.
Dude, what a great song.
Yeah,
Tracy Chapman's amazing.
Yeah.
Is this the top or is this country?
This is top.
Wow.
All songs.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
So John Rich is working with Oliver right now? Chris? John's working with
that's what I heard. That
That's
he's
so
gonna-
good.
I texted John. Yeah, he has been helping him out. Oh, that's amazing. He offered to
put
him on a label or whatever, like help the
Nice.
public. So yeah,
I got goosebumps again, man.
Yeah.
John Rich, we went to his place. He's got a magnificent headquarters. It's like a multi-storied, giant compound.
guitar pool.
On like the
Does
fourth
it have a
floor.
guitar
It's like
pool?
no, he literally his pool
Is a guitar. Oh, that's
is
right.
a
right,
guitar.
you
Yeah,
can see
and-
it from the roof.
Yeah.
Did you go to the music stage,
Yeah.
the sound stage on the fourth floor or whatever? And it's
Got
like
a
2
bar.
stories. Yeah, it's
That's
amazing.
cool. We have photos over there. We got to jam on his stage.
But
man.
the
It was
best
an
part
honor.
about it is that when he tells you the zoning story, and I can't remember all the particulars of it they were like, well, you can't do this with your house, right? Because of where it lies.
Because we say so.
Because of Nashville proper. So he's like, well, then what I will do is I will carve this. I mean, like it's a master, like I love talking to him about his stories because if you ever know the story about how John Rich got Redneck Riviera, have you ever heard this?
No.
So I'll give you the Cliff Note version. So he goes to trademark it. His lawyer comes back and says, yeah, the Patent and Trademark Office says you can't trademark a geographic location. And so sorry, we can't do it. And John Rich goes, oh, okay. Where is it? And they said, what do you mean? He goes, well, you said it's a geographic location. So where's the Redneck Riviera? And they go, he goes, just tell me. And they go, oh, it's on the panhandle of Florida. He goes, oh, because I'm also seeing that it's in a place in Delaware off the coast of, such and such in Texas. And he goes, so there's like 62 places that claim to be the Redneck Riviera. And he's like, so which geographic place am I trademarking? And after a fight back and forth with all of these lawyers and the Patent and Trademark Office, finally they were like, you win.
Dude,
So he owns the patent to Redneck Riviera because
the trademark.
the trademark to it, because initially the government and the lawyers were like, no, unfortunately. And he's like, no, I'm not going to take no for an answer. And he fought and fought and fought, and now he's got Redneck Riviera liquor and
He has barbecue
jerky
sauce.
and
He's
barbecue
like
sauce.
low-key genius.
Oh, but it's brilliant.
He's like so
And
humble.
he was so
when I met
nice
him.
to have on. I loved when he was
Yeah,
on the
I
show.
met him and I just looked over and I was like, oh, just a guy sitting there. I didn't even know if he was going to be our guest. I didn't know who he was. And then I started talking to him. I'm like, okay, this guy's legit. And then I got to know more. And then I realized like his business acumen and like,
Dude,
but he's so humble.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know like talking to him that he's this like genius businessman.
It is funny being in his like what was it like his third floor or whatever, which is like music. It's his house. It's a music venue and bar. And then I'm like, oh, what are all these? And he's like, oh, those are all my chart topping songs. And there's like this row going across the wall. I'm like, holy.
Yeah, he's got the original lyrics to
All
I
of
wish I
these
could
songs that he
remember.
wrote that
Same
smashed
horse
the
rider
charts.
cowboy.
Yes, yeah.
And other artists too that he's followed throughout the years. He's got like their original lyrics that they scrawled on like a I don't know his napkin,
Like a
but
napkin,
paper.
like-
Yeah, he's got. it
You're right.
framed
The
on his
beauty is he is an unbelievably brilliant businessman.
What a
I
good
just
guy too.
wanna
Like,
say,
what a nice guy. I love
Before
him.
we go to Super Chats, it was an honor to be invited to John's house to hang out with him. He's a good dude. Glad to have him on the show. Really excited for the stuff that he's working on. Really excited for Oliver Anthony. Let's read Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button and head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member so that you can watch the members only uncensored show. And we will take calls from you, the members, and you can actually talk to us and our guest. All right, let's go. Blave Kaiser says there will be no coffee purchases until we get Seamus's sweet potato pie swirl and Vociferon Herald of the Winter blend. We are working right now on the Seamus blend, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got a couple. We have Re-Rise with Roberto Jr. because as much as we love and miss Roberto Jr., we are not without humor. So we have a special limited edition Halloween blend that we're going to be putting together. We're only going to do 500 bags of it. And we're hoping that we can number the bags. I'm not sure that we can. We're reaching out to the company who makes the bags because they have to be hand labeled. And then if we can, it'll be cool. You'll get like bag 1 of 500.
Could we
2 of
do
500.
666 bags, or is that too
We could.
edgy?
We might not be able to because of the way they do bag printing, but we can try.
That'd be nice.
And it's for Halloween, so
So Seamus's blend.
Seamus will come here and throw holy water on all of you.
Irish coffee?
no, that it
Too generic?
Yeah, it didn't really work. We tried. We did. We got samples and we tried to put together some kind of. It didn't really work. So we got to figure out something that works for Seamus. You know, I think like a more earthy, dark roast, so that we equate it to potatoes.
I like the sweet potato blend. Like, I mean, I don't know.
know how
That
we
kind
do
of
that.
sounds
We can
gross,
try.
but maybe it would be.
Earthy Ireland.
You
blend.
just put Seamus's face on the bag.
We have
Yes.
little cartoon Seamuses. So, and then there's a couple other we were gonna do.
Like
I think
a big-
we want to do an Alex Stein one.
That'd be
Oh, that'd
great.
be cool.
Yeah. Yep. Primetime
Just-
grind.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that'd be great. That'd be so funny. Just like extra caffeine in that one. So you
Yeah,
scream
yeah,
for,
we
like,
could do. We could.
hours.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Primetime Stein, caffeine 99.
Yeah, I love that.
All right, here we go. Waffle Sense says, okay, new plan. Trump goes to prison. We elect Vivek. Vivek makes Trump VP. Vivek wins, and then Vivek resigns and becomes Trump VP. Checkmate.
I don't think Vivek would resign if he got elected president.
Yeah, they would be able to do something. That would be fun, but he said. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, better plan. Trump raises an army of anti-fascists and they take over the White House and call it what? White House Antifa territory. Trump reigns as king. Haha. I guess the funny thing is if Antifa stormed the White House, nothing would happen. Yeah. The FBI would be like, well, that's fine. Totally okay.
They're peacefully occupying the White House. We love it when they do this.
Yeah, don't mind those fires.
All right, we'll grab some more super chats. Alistair Vusen says, everybody needs to go out and vote in 2024. Even if you think it doesn't matter. If you can't take a few hours to cast a ballot, then you might as well shut up, sit down, and wait for the downfall of the U.S.
True.
Here's the other thing y'all should do right now is go to iTunes and buy Rich Men North of Richmond. Buy it.
Yeah.
What do you think,
But
Sean?
if you can't because the dollar really stresses you out, I get it, man. You know, don't do that. Some people really are trying to make every penny go as far as possible, especially with costs.
Yeah.
But if you have the dollar, you can buy that song, man.
And if you got the ears, give it a listen.
Make Oliver Anthony a millionaire and make him double platinum and make all of these industry celebrities beg to be a part of something wholesome and good. Force the culture to abandon the creepy woke garbage and embrace the wholesome and the good.
That super chatter mentioned voting, like making voting more challenging. Is that what they were saying? Well,
No, they're just saying to make sure you go out and
Yeah,
actually
right.
vote.
Go vote.
what it made me think of is something Vivek Ramaswamy's been talking about, which is that we could increase like the bar to be able to vote, that anyone that's 18 years old would have to pass a civics test, just like someone that wanted to
Yeah.
get citizenship in order to gain the right to vote at 18. What do you support that?
You know, I don't. I mean, look, this is. I think at some point, I get his point, but this is a breakdown. Like we've got to start putting history back in classrooms. I mean, there's having a test, and again, who's going to write the test? The same numbnuts that are running everything right now. I don't trust the government to put a test together. If you ever looked at the citizenship test, it's 100 questions that they give you. You have to get 10 right, and you're gonna. I mean, so I get his point, but I'm not trusting a bunch of bureaucrats to put a test together because I know who's not going to pass it.
Well, I like when we talked, he said, how about when you sign up for the selective service, you get your voter ID card. So you can choose to sign up or not, men and women both. If you want to vote, you sign up, that's it. No guarantee you get drafted, but in order to vote, you have to.
I think there is an element of public service that I don't mind. Where it's,
I think you go that route and you'd be surprised Democrats lose all their voters.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree. And that massive resistance. Like I said, I'm a fan of having to serve the country. But I just can't. I mean, enough of these guys control enough levers that they're never going to let anything go through.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not your guy, friend, says Alex Stein 99 was hysterical calling out far-right Tom Poole as he once again trolled the Plano, Texas Town Council. Did you guys see that?
No. Oh, wait, I think when he had blue hair?
Yeah. Did he mention me or the show?
I don't think so, no.
No?
I just heard him screaming till they shut his camera off.
Just
And then he was like,
talk to-
why'd you
yeah,
shut me
that's
down?
what I saw.
Why'd you shut me down? He's still recording it. It's
So
awesome.
funny.
Ray Jacobs says Hannah Giles, the CEO of Veritas, is actually an accomplished black belt at my jiu-jitsu school in Miami.
Whoa.
Whether you like her or not, she is someone that you don't want to pick a fight with on the street. She is very, very good. You know, I hear that, but I don't know what that has to do with firing people and not fundraising and, you know, like betraying staff or whatever. So I'm, you know, like, you know, Mark Zuckerberg's a blue belt.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's relevant to me.
She'll
It's not
beat
like
you
I'm
up. I guess that's
We're never going to fight. You know, I'm not going to be like, Mark, before we have this debate, you know, we're going to do a sanctioned match.
Yeah, don't go out and fight her.
okay.
I think it is fair to say this because I am a humble person. I think it is fair to say that Mark Zuckerberg could beat up everybody in this room.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, yeah. Alex Stein did say Tim Pool. He was like, you guys are censoring far right activists like Tim Pool. I mean, he said something like that. It was really funny.
Did he say
But,
Tim or
Zuckerberg-
Tom?
He said Tim. I remember listening to it. I remember he mentioned you.
So a lot of people would want to be like big and tough and be like, I could take Zuckerberg. I'm like, maybe because he's not that big of a guy. Like, I guess Elon Musk said, with my height and weight advantage, I'm probably going to win even with training. And that's a fair point. But I think it's fair to say, like, I'm never going to pretend that I can take someone in a fight who's literally training in jiu-jitsu or something like that. I will just defer to, they probably beat me up. I'll try. I mean, maybe I could do it.
At this point, I think
I'll
Elon's
defer.
trolling. I don't think he has any intention.
No,
of fighting.
Zuckerberg's the one who pulled out.
Yeah, but that's because like
Oh, he
Elon
did?
wasn't following through.
Not
isn't
true.
it?
Elon, I don't believe that for a second.
Didn't Elon say he had an injury or
It's
something?
because Mark Zuckerberg was like, this should be going through UFC or One. And Elon was like, we should do it in Italy at the Coliseum. And Mark Zuckerberg was like, that's not a serious match.
Yep.
I feel like the Coliseum is a pretty serious place to have a match.
Elon's idea was a more goofy thing. And Zuckerberg's like, no, I want a UFC title
Yeah,
card.
he said it was going to look purely Roman, like old Roman. All the modern stuff would not be in the frame,
That's
so it
just-
just looked like an old,
Yeah.
Coliseum battle.
I feel like Mark Zuckerberg's just trying to get away from the fact that everyone thinks he's kind of a robot.
I think Mark is like, I would hurt that guy, and I don't want to hurt his neck. I don't want to break his arm, and he's old, and I don't want to do that to him.
They could have made the fight in like 6 months, and then if Elon had just done all that the entire time and trained, then it would have been a
So you think if Mark had called his bluff when Elon said come over to my house or I'll come over to your house, do you really think that you think it would have gone through?
right then and there?
Yeah. If he said fine, come on over.
Elon would have shown up.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
They might have done a photo op, though. I don't think they
Elon
would've.
went and did practice with Lex Fridman.
And just practice is practice. I'm
Well,
saying
I was gonna say,
but
Lex
he asked
Fridman
for
is not
practice.
a
No.
jiu-jitsu expert,
Elon,
right?
yes, he is.
He is?
Yes.
Lex rolls.
Yeah.
I don't know what his belt.
Tons of
Sorry,
videos.
I don't really keep up with Lex Friedman.
You should.
Yeah, he's a martial artist.
Great.
That's so
Uh,
funny.
black
but
belt?
but Elon said he wanted to have a practice bout with Mark. It sounds like Elon is more having a silly fun time and he wanted to goof off, and Zuckerberg wants a serious UFC match.
And Lex is a brown belt for
Yeah.
reference.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, Lex. I watched some videos. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
He said it was
Yeah.
the toughest.
Lex, no question, would beat up everybody in this room.
Yeah.
But would he beat up
Dude,
Mark
Lex
Zuckerberg?
is
That's the
amazing.
question.
Absolutely, no
Yeah.
question.
If he's a blue belt, if Zuckerberg's blue belt and he's a brown belt, yes, he would. Yeah.
It's like I don't know how much I care about the idea that someone accredited you with a colored belt. It's
Yeah,
just fair to
totally.
say that Fridman's got way more experience fighting.
Yeah,
like,
it's just time
Brown's
spent
legit.
doing it, you know?
Yeah.
yeah.
I love Lex so much.
Let's
I
see.
love that guy.
CH Cowboy says, I believe if Trump goes to prison, that is the clearest sign we're dealing with communists. Let me just pause right there and be like, they're holding up giant red flags. Literally, they are holding up giant red communist flags. You know, he says, I fear there can't be peaceful resolution if we're dealing with a Marxist insurgency.
Yeah.
I think it's funny when it's like, when you see an Antifa rally, the biggest red flag that you're dealing with communists is that they're holding up a large red communist flag.
Communist flag.
Oh.
Oh man.
What is this? Cap says, saw an article on my phone today that said the posting Georgia indictments early wasn't an accident, but a practice run. These people are insane. They are.
Yeah, they are.
Shred Couch says, what are your thoughts on Mike Lindell's big plan revealed today? I don't know. What was it? Did anyone see it?
No. Oh, that's what he was talking about on our
on the loudest culture war of all time on
the big
record.
Plan.
I didn't watch it. I'll go back and check it out.
Neither did I. But he did mention that he wanted to come on the show on the 18th, i.e. tomorrow, to come and discuss what he is going to talk about last night.
I don't think he's going to be here tomorrow.
I don't either.
That was Matt Brainerd and Mike Lindell.
It was a very loud culture war. I highly recommend everyone watch it. But just
tomorrow's
going to
be wild. Tomorrow we have Laura Loomer, Bill Mitchell, and Kyle Becker.
Yeah.
And I.
Interesting.
And we're going to have
spirited debate.
Attempt to have a conversation about Trump versus DeSantis.
Cool.
I think it'll be cool. I think it'll be an interesting conversation that I think a lot of people want to hear. It just might be very lively. That's how I know describe culture war.
Get
lively.
your Timcast brew ready to go.
Yeah. Brew that coffee early because it goes live at what, 9 a.m. or 10 a.m.?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. live tomorrow morning at youtube.com/Timcast. And I imagine it's going to be Laura spitting hard facts very, 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 very fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't let her gish gallop. You got to hold control.
We'll see. I honestly think the issue is, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, Ron DeSantis' donors, this, that, or otherwise. But I think talking about the campaign and, policy, it's like there's fair criticisms. We'll see how it goes. I think it'll be a good time.
The thing that I find interesting, and again, there's this sort of existential debate about who's better or worse. I keep looking at things very analytically, and which I said earlier in the show. If he doesn't win Iowa, it doesn't matter. Trump's it's over. And this is all about accumulating the requisite number of delegates, about 1,400 delegates. You don't get delegates by coming if you don't beat the guy, right? And at the end of the day, this good, bad, it's an existential debate, because at the end of the day, right now, Trump's organization in these early states is such that unless you show he can be beat, he's going to steamroll, collect the requisite number of delegates, and it's over by Super Tuesday. So you can tell me that Ron DeSantis has the magic formula to do everything in the world. If he can't actually take down Trump in Iowa, because he's not really competing as much in New Hampshire, then it doesn't matter. Right. And that's what I keep coming back to. Tell me how he can win.
All right. Blake says, Tim, the Republican Party is the party of the working class. The working class is mostly normie folk. Sean is right. People won't react to Biden ballot.
I just like the Sean is right part.
Yeah, it was a good point.
You can clip that just to
Yeah,
remind
I may
yourself.
just clip that.
Over and over again. It's
Yeah.
like one
Jason
nonsense.
Hutchinson says, Kevin McCarthy, with a need for only one challenger to challenge his speaker position after screwing us in the debt ceiling and the last budget fight, announced that he would do another continuing resolution on the next budget bill and no one challenge.
I remember talking to Matt Gaetz about the debt ceiling and how they keep raising it. My whole life, they've just raised the debt ceiling. I'm like, what is it? Is this a joke? Like, they say it's a ceiling that they continue to raise. There's no ceiling. Matt was just looking at me like smiling because he knew how ridiculous it is.
They all know.
What do we do? I mean, it's just, there is no, I mean, I guess you could say it's a temporary ceiling that's going to be moved
But
to a new
beyond that,
position.
what infuriates me is that when you have the fight, they say you can't fight, because if we don't do this, this is what's going to happen. I get that, right? There's these economic consequences, which are debatable. But the point is that every time that we get there, they go, if we do this, all these bad things are going to happen. So let's wait till after, let's raise it. And then no one ever does anything. It's literally like saying, you got to lose weight, but let's just go to the buffet one more time. And then no one actually ever does anything. I just don't get the debate. There are so many low-hanging fruits that could be dealt with. And these guys wait until the last minute, and they're going to do it again. We're heading towards September. I think Congress is in session 12 days. And they're going to go, we have to do a CR because the government's going to run out of money. Well, where were you the 11 last months? We do this, whether it's the debt ceiling or the continuing resolutions at the end of the year, every time. And then guys, we're running out of time. We got to do this.
Yeah, I found out that we can make hydrogen fuel real cheap now. We can actually get paid to make hydrogen because you get the byproduct of graphene, but carbon, and they can turn it into graphene and sell the graphene for $4.50 for every kilogram of carbon or of hydrogen that they produce. So like, we've basically figured out how to make free hydrogen, how to get paid for making hydrogen. Why is that not immediately implemented now in the government? Why is that not immediately the number one move for the United States government? Because that will make
That's very specific.
hydrogen
Maybe
fuel.
the Energy Committee should be asked that question.
But also, you're on the revenue side, which I am a fan of as well. But why are we Republicans? The Constitution says that the House of Representatives where all funding shall start. There's so many low hanging. Why are we funding PBS and NPR? That should be like, I mean, and that's a minuscule amount. But the illustrative stuff show that you actually care. I just don't get these easy ones. Those are the layups. Everybody would say, great. You can get again. I
want to read this one here. This is from what does it say? J Train M. Come to Moyock, North Carolina. Is that how you pronounce it? Oliver is playing this Saturday at Eagle Creek Golf Course.
Nice.
So you heard it here. Everybody go.
Oh
go.
my God! Can you imagine being the manager at Eagle Creek Golf Course? You're going.
They're getting phone calls right now. Get your tickets.
Yeah.
He put out a tweet that was like, "I'll be at this farmers market on August 15th." And,
But it gets so flooded.
he's like, I think it was crazy. He was like, I'll stay until 2 a.m. to shake hands. I kept thinking that poor farmers market organizer must be like, but what about the parking?
Bender the Offender says, Tim, do you think the U.S. will be in an active civil war and World War III if it escalates to that in the same time period? No. Because if the U.S. does destabilize to the point of civil war, we won't be involved in World War III. We'll be involved in a civil war, and there will be no World War III.
That's what happened with the Bolshevik Revolution is they went internal, split off, and they basically weren't involved in World War I.
Yeah.
They were, and then the revolution
And
the
then
revolution
they
began, and then they pulled out.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting times.
Let's hope
Cosmic
it's
Surgeon
red
says
and white.
none watched Mike Lindell today. No ballot harvesting. I didn't watch Mike Lindell.
Is that what it was about?
I mean, he said when he was here to debate that he was against ballot harvesting.
Why?
He was saying that we needed to stick to the rules, that if you're ballot harvesting from, I don't want to paraphrase his argument too much, but if you're ballot harvesting, you're doing something that we shouldn't support anyways. Everyone should show up on election day and have paper ballots and vote in person. And the conversation was interesting because it's a question of like, well, these are the rules we have. Should we let the other party use the system to their advantage, or should we say we don't believe in these things, so we should try and resist them?
I don't disagree with them, but the ship has sailed. This is the point that we were talking about earlier. Guys, guess what? I think ballot harvesting is ridiculous. In fact, it was illegal in a lot of states, and yet the Dems weaponized it. The ship has sailed. Either we keep complaining about it or we find out a way to undo it, but you can't. We're literally going to let them get away with this and win more and more and more. So I'm with Mike in principle, but either change the law or get on board.
Warren Heiss says, I just watched that Arizona is going for the 5th indictment. That's right.
Way.
Yeah, but I think what I heard about Arizona is they're going after the state level stuff. We'll see if they go after Trump. I could be wrong. Maybe they are. Business Phone says, Ian, watch the whole clip. The code would change the vote count and then eat itself so it couldn't be detected if the source code was examined. In-person, hand-counted destructible paper ballots like we used to.
I'm sorry. Wait. He said that the code would eat
The guy
itself?
who said he hacked the voting machine said the code he put on it would change the votes and then self-destruct.
No, he didn't. No, he hasn't. No, he said that you wouldn't know that it changed the votes unless you had access to the code, and you don't have access to the code. That's what the guy said. In
This person says if you watch the whole
I'll
clip,
rewatch it again.
maybe you're watching a shorter version of it.
Okay, thanks.
What do we have here? Guga Simon says, North Brazil former President Bolsonaro was sentenced to 8 years of eligibility by the Superior Electoral Court for saying that the voting machines were unreliable. 8 years of eligibility? What does that mean?
Probably ineligibility.
Ineligibility?
I imagine so.
Mookie says, got the Appalachian Nights coffee, smoothest coffee I've ever had. Will buy again. It's amazing. Look, I'll be completely honest with my assessment on the coffee. Rise with Roberto Jr., 10 out of 10. It's my favorite. And then I have Appalachian Nights, and I'm like, oh man, 10 out of 10. This one's my favorite.
Pumpkin spice is mine.
It's good.
It's good.
Not my favorite, but it's good. And Stand Your Grounds is, so Rise with Roberto Jr. and Appalachian Nights are battling for my top position because one's light, one's dark, but man, they're both good. And then Stand Your Grounds is like right there in the middle. French Roast to me is a C+. It's good. It's a good cup of coffee. It's better than like, gas station coffee or something like that. So I enjoy it. But I got to tell you, the Appalachian Nights, whew, wow. And I have yet to try the decaf ones, though.
They're good.
We did the samples of them a long time ago. I'll put it that way. Like, I've tried them all, but I need to have a cup of coffee now that they're here, packaged and cracked open, because getting sample packages is different.
I tasted the Sleepy Joe. It's a little sweet, surprisingly, and like bitter. It's like bittersweet. I don't know. I didn't see the beans, and then it doesn't have much of an aftertaste. It's very clean. It's awesome.
It's cool.
Let's grab some more. Dylan Gilman says, please provide a link to sign up for Cast Brew franchising newsletter. We don't have one. We have literally done nothing towards the concept of franchising Cast Brew, but I want to, because I would love it if there were 1,000 locations in 5 years and it was just a decentralized network. That's what it's all about. Everybody runs their own locations, but people know that you can hang out there. What I'm really excited for with it is something we're talking about doing called Saturday morning cartoons, where parents bring their kids in. It's like 7 a.m. We have pancakes, sausage, eggs, like buffet style, and then the kids play and hang out. The TVs are on with approved, Saturday morning cartoons, and then you hang out till whenever you feel like it. Maybe the event ends at noon or whatever. But when I grew up, we had Saturday morning cartoons, and now you don't have any of that anymore. So this is a kind of like a secular community building thing where a lot of people who don't go to church, they come to this and they hang out, and it gives some kind of facsimile of it. I don't think it's a perfect exchange, but people meeting their neighbors, kids growing up near each other and becoming friends, I think is a really, really important thing. Would
you, and I'm just throwing this out there, I'm brainstorming, would you be willing to consider the new Sean Spicer show going on like in the afternoon?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's the plan.
That's okay.
The plan is that we have these TVs, and when there'll be some woman on her way to work, and she'll be like, I need to grab a cup of coffee. And then she'll look on her phone. She'll be like, okay, Casper coffee. She walks in, she walks up to the counter, and she goes, I'll take the dark roast and leave room for cream. And they're like, you got it. And while they're pouring it, she's like getting her money out. She looks up and there's a TV and there's Steven Crowder talking about something. Or there's Viva Fry, or there's Sean Spicer. And then she's just sitting there. They go, here's your coffee, ma'am. She goes, oh, thank you. And she pays. And then she's holding the coffee and she's looking at it and she sips a little bit. And she goes, huh. She walks out. She goes to work. And then someone's like, hey, Janet, how's it going? She's like, how are you? And it's like, no, what's going on? Like, I just heard about that thing, the Biden thing. Did you see that? Where he was telling the prostitute to fire the guy and I'll give you the money or whatever. Did you hear about that? It's on the news or something. That's the goal.
What'd be cool is if it was the monitors were all Bluetooth and you could put. It'd be nice if the volume's on, but like sometimes I don't want to listen to TV when I'm drinking. I just want to chill. So
there
like
will be there's an area like
oh cool.
The idea is there's like an area with the TV, and so if you're standing away from it, you'll be able to hear it, but you can sit down in front of it and hear it. A lot of places have it kind of like this. There's the TV's on, and you can sit down by it and you'll hear it. Walk away from it and you don't.
Yo, we should get pancake maker for the kids. So they can make their own pancakes. Have all the
no. They have the automatic ones. You ever see them?
Yeah.
You press the
At
button.
hotels they have them.
Yep.
Yes.
You press the button and you watch
the
it.
residents in.
Those are great.
Yeah, it's fun.
And then it cooks them on both sides at the same time. That's what we got to
hungry
get.
now.
Get a good batter. Yeah.
Pancakes. Okay, let's grab another super chat. Matthew Schneider says, literally bought that song 10 seconds before you said buy it. LOL.
Great.
But you got to tell your friends and family to buy it too.
Yep.
So if you know anybody who was like, oh yeah, I love that song, or you know somebody who's listening to it, or you know someone you've shared it with already, you got to be like, hey guys, buy that on iTunes right now. We want this guy to be a rock star. We want rock stars to be synonymous with being a good person who's singing about American values and fighting for the working class, and not about wet ass pussy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like we got to work for that. Okay. Yeah. You got to spend that dollar. Realign the culture and win the culture war. Joseph says, men 6 feet in the ground, show respect. It's rough. Yeah, man. I watched a video where it was playing live, and I could see people singing along to it and nodding along, and you could see like these guys knew exactly what he was saying. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Yeah. People are saying it's an anthem. Wow. Whoa, what do you got here? We got some more super chats. Joshua Lively says, this is my first real super chat to you guys, but I thought I should tell you, my family and I just saw a string of 20 to 30 green lights flying in the sky over the house. Never saw anything like this. Have video and photo to send as well. Do you want to get that? You want to watch that?
Yeah. Is it it's a
You
video?
can just tweet it at you, right?
Yes, tweet it at Ian Crossland.
But I bet it was
Make
drones.
sure you're following him because he's in a race.
Yeah.
I'm in a race with Clint Russell, Liberty Lockdown pod. To 100,000 followers. It could be lasers.
Ray's Tiny Dinosaur says, Rip Roberto Jr. I recently got 6 chicks. One of them turned out to be a rooster, so I had to find him a new home. His adoptive parents now want to find him a new home because he's so aggressive. Frowny face. That's the bummer about Roberto Jr. He was super chill. Roberto's aggressive. You know, he was the king, and it's because he was born on a chicken farm, and all the boys got cold but him because they thought he was a girl, and then he got to grow up. Roberto Jr. was raised by us, so he was super calm and relaxed around people, and then he had a heart attack and died suddenly. Yep, just abruptly, and I looked it up, and it's like sometimes roosters have heart attacks, and I was like, damn.
And then his sister died shortly after that.
Yeah,
unrelated.
It's lots of tragedy around here with the chickens. It's hard.
Mm-hmm. Chickens die a lot.
I think they can see, birds can see the electromagnetic field. They used to think it was like I think it's iron in their beak or a chemical in their beak that they could navigate with, but now they believe they can actually see. It's a protein in their eye or something, and they can actually see the Earth's magnetic field. That's how they all fly in synergy, that murmuration where you see these big flocks all coming together and moving it. They can actually see it. I wonder if they could see it and if they were connected to it, and that's why his sister felt such pain that she flew away shortly after. That's
crazy. It was three babies that hatched, the first eggs that we hatched, and they were a weak batch. We knew it. You know, the chickens we got were young. They had their eggs. We hatched them. Now they got tons of babies. Roberto's got like 30 kids and like 30 grandkids.
Did you decide who's going to be his heir?
Not yet. They've got a little bit older, but Roberto the third. Roberto Jr.'s son.
Roberto Jr. the second.
Roberto Jr.
Yeah.
It was really funny.
Who's the boxer?
Call him JJ.
Was the boxer George Foreman? Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Named all his kids George.
George.
And his daughters were like Georgina, right?
Yeah, that's the thing.
We were trying to figure out a name for Roberto Jr. And then I was just like, he's Junior. You know, he's like Roberto's son. And then they fought after a little while. Roosters don't fight the way people think they fight. If we have little Luke in the chicken city right now with Roberto, they stay away from each other and they just mind each other. They mind their own business, and then they have their girls or whatever. But you can have a bunch of different roosters depending on how many hens you have. People think that you put two roosters together, they start going at each other. They don't. No. But sometimes they do because they're like dudes. You know, sometimes dudes fight is what it is. All right, everybody, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member, because the members only uncensored show is starting in just a few minutes, and you don't want to miss it. It's going to be good fun. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Sean, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, new show starts on Monday. Please follow me, Sean M. Spicer on YouTube. You can go to Rumble, SeanSpicerShow.com. But the same thing we've been talking about. Please, I appreciate your support. Want to build up a bigger subscriber base and be part of that community as we navigate this upcoming election. Give you the behind the scenes take as to what's happening and why, and hopefully how we can use the rules to win again. SeanSpicerShow.com, Sean M. Spicer on YouTube. Thank you.
Right on.
That's awesome. I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for Timcast.com. You should follow at Timcast News on Twitter and Instagram. You can see the work from all of our journalists. And I want to say a special thank you to Chris Carr, our executive editor, because I have tons of typos and he puts up with it. If you want to follow me personally, you can follow me on Twitter at Hannah Claire or at HC Brimlow and on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. Thank you so much.
Ian Crossland, hit me up on X at Ian Crossland. Sean Spicer on X at Sean Spicer. What time does your show go up on Monday?
6 o'clock.
Eastern?
Eastern.
6 p.m. Eastern time. Sean M. Spicer.
So you finish that, then you can have a cup of Timcast brew, then jump right in. I mean, we timed it. It was all
the flavor.
Yeah.
And also, I'm in a race with Clint Russell, Liberty Lockdown Pod on X, and we are both heading towards 100,000 followers. You must follow me and Clint Russell on X. And whichever one I see, I'm like Vivek, man. I only want a fair contest here. So I want to see who's going to win. Who's going to get to 100,000 first? It's going to be me or Clint. Cast your vote. Follow, like, subscribe, and I'll see you later.
I am definitely going to follow Ian, but I follow both of you guys already, so it's whatever. Yeah, I'm Serge.com. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Or if you are a member, please join us on the member show. It'll be nice to hear you guys say stuff. What else can I say? I guess shouts out to the people of Maui right now. Anyways, cheers.
All right, everybody. We'll see you all over at timcast.com. Thanks for hanging out.